Villain, what should I do if I get addicted to taking care of my sister-in-law? Lin Bai was reborn. In his previous life, he was Xiao Ran's subordinate. Although he enjoyed some glory, he ended up dying alone in the end. This time, in this new life, he is determined to change his fate and take everything that belongs to Xiao Ran back. Wealth, beauties, and the empire, everything will be his. Chapter 1, Drugging My Sister-in-Law. Big sis, you're here. When the door opened, standing before Lin Bai was none other than his sister-in-law, Yi Qingxue. Today, Yi Qingxue wore an elegant blue dress, graceful and captivating. Her shoulder-length hair flowed smoothly, shimmering with a natural luster. The jewelry on her body was exquisite and sparkling, complementing her outfit perfectly. Of course, what was most striking was her flawless face, which needed no makeup to be perfect. Even a casual glance was enough to make anyone unforgettable. However, in response to Lin Bai's enthusiastic greeting, Yi Qingxue's attitude was even colder than expected. She didn't even acknowledge Lin Bai, simply stepping aside to avoid him and walking directly into the private room. Lin Bai paid no attention to his sister-in-law's coldness. Instead, a subtle smile curved at the corners of his mouth, and he carefully closed the door behind him. Inside the room, Yi Qingxue placed her purse down and elegantly crossed her long legs, which seemed to invite endless imagination. Let's get to the point. How much do I need to pay you to keep this a secret? Yi Qingxue asked coldly, staring at Lin Bai. Talking about money ruins the mood, doesn't it? We're at such a nice place, we should at least have a meal first, right? What do you think, big sis? Lin Bai said with a mischievous grin. Yi Qingxue frowned slightly. As expected, the food arrived quickly within half an hour. The table was full of delicious dishes, courtesy of the 5-star hotel. Big sis, would you like some wine? Lin Bai gently raised his glass, his eyes glinting with a touch of cunning. Yi Qingxue glanced at the red wine in front of her, a flicker of disdain and mockery passing over her face. Do you really think we have the kind of relationship where we can drink together? Lin Bai's smile deepened, and his eyes sparkled with an unusual gleam. Of course we do, we're both the closest people to Big Brother, aren't we? His voice was deep and magnetic, carrying an undeniable allure. Seeing that Yi Qingxue was still hesitating, Lin Bai continued, this is the Yi family's territory, are you really worried something might happen here? His words were laced with condescension and provocation. You don't have the guts. Yi Qingxue sneered, though she was skeptical, she still didn't take Lin Bai seriously. She picked up her wine glass and drank it in one go. Watching Yi Qingxue swallow the red wine, Lin Bai's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. A few minutes later, Yi Qingxue began to feel dizzy, her body gradually losing control as she collapsed unconscious onto the table. The once tempting feast no longer held any interest for Lin Bai. He put down his chopsticks, stood up, and slowly walked toward Yi Qingxue. Big sis, are you alright? Lin Bai asked in a fake, concerned tone, with a hint of insincerity in his voice. Once he confirmed that Yi Qingxue was completely unconscious, Lin Bai grew bolder. He reached out without hesitation. The moment his hand touched her, Lin Bai felt his heart race as if it might jump out of his chest. His breathing became more rapid. This woman in front of him was not just the Yi family's second daughter, she was also his good brother Xiao Ran's woman. In such a situation, what man could remain calm? His fingers lightly traced the smoothness of Yi Qingxue's hand, then slowly moved up her arm before finally resting on her flawless face, as white and soft as mutton fat jade. In that instant, Lin Bai truly experienced the softness of her skin like cream, it seemed as if it would melt with a single touch. The outside has surveillance, so of course I wouldn't dare do anything to you openly on Yi family's turf, but in here, there is no one to stop us. Lin Bai's voice was deep, laced with a subtle tremor. His eyes locked onto Yi Qingxue, glinting with a complex mix of emotions. Big sis, don't blame me. If you must blame someone, blame your boyfriend, Xiao Ran. In terms of beauty, Yi Qingxue was easily one of the top 3 in the entire Yi city. With the Yi family's background, most men wouldn't even dream of being close to her, let alone have the chance to touch her. Yet this seemingly unattainable woman was now in his grasp. Lin Bai couldn't help but imagine what kind of revenge he would face once Yi Qingxue woke up and discovered her innocence lost. Would he regret it? Fear it? The answer was, of course, no. He was reborn and had a system. How could a mere Yi family scare someone with such power? Yes, Lin Bai was reborn. In his past life, he was Xiao Ran's subordinate, risking his life for him, serving him like a dog. Xiao Ran was the true heir of destiny. Everything went smoothly for him, starting from scratch and eventually becoming the richest man in Longwa. With a dozen women by his side, he was truly a life winner. However, Lin Bai, though he lived a life of apparent glory, died alone. The reason? His childhood sweetheart, the one he thought would be with him for life, ended up falling for his big brother, Xiao Ran. For the sake of friendship, and the woman he loved, Lin Bai foolishly helped them get together. It wasn't until the moment of his death that he fully realized the truth. Perhaps his sincerity moved the heavens because he was reborn with a mysterious revenge system. After understanding the system's function, he didn't hesitate for a moment and immediately contacted his sister-in-law, Yi Qingxue, who had just gotten together with Xiao Ran. That's right. His first step of revenge was to take Yi Qingxue away. In his previous life, Yi Qingxue played a crucial role in helping Xiao Ran become the richest man in Longwa. Without her, Xiao Ran would never have achieved such success. Yet Xiao Ran didn't give Yi Qingxue the life he promised her, one man, one woman for life. Instead, he expected her to share him with a dozen other women. How ridiculous. Of course, their relationship wasn't all smooth sailing. There were also hidden risks. The biggest risk was that Xiao Ran's father had committed suicide because of the Yi family's corporation. To Xiao Ran, the Yi family was his enemy. Yi Qingxue knew this from the beginning, but she still couldn't help falling for Xiao Ran. Thus, she had to conceal her true identity. But she never expected that Lin Bai would recognize her, even though she had been living abroad for years and hadn't shown her face publicly. She didn't want to lose Xiao Ran, so she agreed to meet. She thought Lin Bai only wanted money, so she planned to pay him off with cash. What she didn't expect was that Lin Bai had drugged her. What have you done to me? Yi Qingxue groggily asked. As the drug's effects wore off, she was forced to face the truth. Do you still need me to explain it to you, my dear sister-in-law? Lin Bai said, his voice laced with mockery. Chapter 2, The Regretful Yi Qingxue. Lin Bai, I swear I will make sure you have no place to be buried. Yi Qingxue gnashed her teeth and glared at Lin Bai, her eyes filled with hatred. At this moment, she had completely lost the ethereal, cold aura she once had. Her face twisted in anger, resembling a mad old woman. However, Lin Bai seemed unfazed by Yi Qingxue's threat. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, a look of disdain on his face. Oh? Is that so? Well, let's see. But don't forget, I was your first man, he said, deliberately nodding towards the faint bloodstain on the sofa. Upon seeing this, Yi Qingxue's heart felt as if it had been pierced by a needle, a sharp pain rushing to her chest. She and Xiao Ran had just started their relationship, and they hadn't even held hands yet. Now, her precious first time had been taken by this despicable bastard before her. At the thought, she felt an immense wave of pain and regret. If you say one more word, I promise you won't leave this room today. Yi Qingxue's voice was low and cold, revealing a fury that could not be concealed. Sounds like if I don't speak, you'll let me go, right, big sister? Lin Bai sneered, his eyes flashing with cunning. Lin Bai. Yi Qingxue's anger flared, her rage building up. However, at this moment, Lin Bai suddenly said, "Oh right, there's something I want you to see, big sister." With that, he took out his phone, quickly tapped a few times, and then handed it to Yi Qingxue. Yi Qingxue looked at him, puzzled, unsure of his intentions. But out of curiosity and caution, she hesitated for a moment before taking the phone. The moment she saw what was displayed on the phone screen, her face instantly darkened, and her body trembled involuntarily. She widened her eyes, staring at the screen as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. You actually filmed a video. Otherwise, do you think I'm just going to let you kill me like squashing an ant? Lin Bai said with a mocking tone. I'm still young, haven't enjoyed life enough. If I die young, wouldn't that be a shame? What do you think, my dear big sister? Yi Qingxue's face was filled with shock and terror. She thought that Lin Bai's actions were already shameless, but she had still underestimated him. The murderous intent in her heart had now turned into fear and panic. Lin Bai dared to give her the phone, which meant he had a backup. If he exposed the video, her reputation would be ruined, and there would be no future with Xiao Ran. What should I do? Xiao Ran, help me. Seeing the despair and helplessness on Yi Qingshue's face, Lin Bai felt particularly good. In his previous life, Yi Qingxue and Xiao Ran were always flaunting their love in front of him, and he was sick of it. Now, seeing Yi Qingxue so desperate, it felt quite satisfying. At that moment, a familiar mechanical sound echoed in Lin Bai's mind. Ping! Detected an increase in Yi Qingshue's hatred towards their host. Current hatred value, 60. Lin Bai's eyes brightened. It had already reached 60? It seemed that for women, their virginity was indeed the most important thing. Before Lin Bai could speak, another system prompt came. Ping! Detected that the target's hatred value has reached 60. Congratulations, their host has received a level 1 revenge gift pack. Open the gift pack. Lin Bai said eagerly. Ping! Level 1 revenge gift pack is now opening. Congratulations, host, you have received the following items. 10,000 revenge points can be used in the revenge shop to purchase any items. 1 billion long coins Dragon Country's transaction currency, source absolutely clean. Mastery of combat after obtaining, you will automatically master martial arts techniques from hundreds of countries on Blue Star. Mastery of cooking after obtaining, you will automatically master cooking techniques from hundreds of countries on Blue Star. Damn, 10,000 revenge points from a level 1 revenge gift pack. The higher level packs must give even more, right? Lin Bai remembered that his beginner gift pack from the revenge system only gave him 1,000 points, and he had already spent 500 on medicine. He had worried that revenge points would be hard to earn, but now that seemed unnecessary. The 1 billion long coins directly made him go from a commoner to a tycoon. As for the mastery of combat and mastery of cooking, those were survival skills. System, open the panel. As soon as he spoke, a blue panel appeared in Lin Bai's mind. Name, Lin Bai. Age, 21. Height, 183 centimeters. Weight, 150 pounds. Appearance, 90. Revenge points, 10,500. Assets, 1 billion long coins. Special, mastery of combat, mastery of cooking. His appearance was slightly lower than average, but now he could be considered a high-class rich and handsome man. Although the revenge shop had items to improve his appearance, their prices were too high for him to afford right now. System, view Yi Qingshue's panel. Soon, another yellow panel appeared in Lin Bai's mind. Name, Yi Qingxue. Age, 21. Height, 166 centimeters. Weight, 96 pounds. Appearance, 98. Hatred value, 60. The higher the hatred value, the more intense the hatred. Hatred is divided into 3 stages, 60, 80, and 100. Each stage grants a corresponding revenge gift pack, with the maximum value being 100. A 98 appearance rating. No wonder she was the second miss of the Yi family. Toying with such a perfect woman was much more interesting. If Xiao Ran saw this scene, it would be even more exciting. Hee. What should I do so you want to tell Xiao Ran about today? Yi Qingshue's voice was hoarse after a long silence. Lin Bai walked up to Yi Qingshuo, gently smoothing the messy hair from her face. That's more like it. We're family, and what kind of family constantly shouts about killing each other? Yi Qingshuo didn't resist, letting him do whatever he wanted. Why are you doing this to me? Aren't you Xiao Ran's best brother? Yi Qingshuo asked, her confusion evident. Hearing the phrase, best brother, Lin Bai couldn't help but sneer. This only confused Yi Qingshuo even more. Best brother? Do you really think Xiao Ran sees me as a brother? Lin Bai mocked. Isn't he? Lin Bai sneered, in his heart, I'm just a dog that comes when called. Yi Qingshuo didn't believe it, but Lin Bai didn't care to explain. He continued to gently stroke Yi Qingshuo's pale face. Yi Qingshuo visibly shivered. Well, let me tell you, big sister, why I'm doing this. Why? Because I've been secretly in love with you for a long time. Even in my dreams, I see you. I can't accept you being with that hypocrite Xiao Ran, so I came up with this plan. Even if I have to force it, I'll make you mine. You, Yi Qingshuo, can only be my Lin Bai's woman. Chapter 3, Goodbye, Xiao Ran. You better keep this secret, or even if I end up ruined, I'll make you pay the price. Yi Qingshuo's face darkened as she threw this harsh warning at Lin Bai, her fury boiling over as she stormed out of the private room. Lin Bai shrugged indifferently. He had expected Yi Qingxue would make such a decision for Xiao Ran. He wasn't in a rush to fully enjoy the situation after all, the best things had to be savored slowly. He still had plenty of tricks up his sleeve, and he wouldn't let Xiao Ran find out everything too soon. Plus, he had to be careful with Yi Qingxue. If things got out of hand, it might cause him trouble. For now, he decided to relish the fruits of victory. Looking at the 1 billion dragon coins just deposited into his account, Lin Bai felt a surge of satisfaction. In his past life, when he had wealth, he had lost the desire to splurge carelessly. But now, reborn, he planned to take everything Xiao Ran had and enjoy life to the fullest. After leaving the Yulan Hotel, Lin Bai's first stop was the 4S dealership. There, he received royal treatment for several hours and finally drove off in his ultra-luxury Tank 3000. This domestic off-road vehicle was an indestructible powerhouse able to crush other cars with ease, with top-notch bulletproof protection, and even capable of withstanding rocket explosions. Due to its unbeatable performance, the Tank 3000 had limited production and an exceptionally high price tag compared to other off-road vehicles. Lin Bai's chosen Extreme Honor version was the most luxurious, costing him a total of 15 million dragon coins. Driving this magnificent machine on the road, Lin Bai couldn't help but attract attention from passers-by. But he didn't mind. This was the effect he desired. In his past life, he had always been the center of attention, but with Xiao Ran overshadowing him, his shine had been dulled. This time, things were going to be different. Xiao Ran, I'm coming for you. Lin Bai's eyes gleamed with an unprecedented intensity. The sun shone brightly, and a gentle breeze swept across Yi City University, a prestigious institution steeped in history. It stood as a sanctuary of knowledge, attracting countless students pursuing their dreams and the truth. But at this moment, the school gates were surrounded by a large crowd, murmuring and gasping in awe. What happened over there? A tall, handsome young man couldn't help but ask. Why don't we go check it out, suggested a short, chubby man. Forget it, it's too crowded to get in. Besides, class is about to start. Let us go, said a young man with glasses, shaking his head. The tall young man nodded in agreement, and the three of them left. As they walked, the tall young man suddenly asked, by the way, do you know where old Lin went? He left early this morning. He said he had to meet someone important, replied the short man. I see, the young man muttered, his brow furrowing slightly. But he quickly let go of the concern. Everyone had their own lives and secrets. As the three of them walked away, a young man squeezed out of the crowd. It was Lin Bai, who had overheard their conversation. He hadn't expected the Tank 3000 to attract so much attention. As soon as he parked the vehicle, students crowded around, pulling out their phones to take pictures. He was about to become the hot topic on the campus forum, but he didn't care. This was exactly what he wanted. Seeing the familiar backs of the three men, Lin Bai sneered coldly. A few minutes later, he stood in front of the classroom door, took a deep breath, adjusted his emotions, and pushed the door open. The classroom looked exactly as he remembered, as if time had never left. The chalk on the blackboard never seemed to fade, scattered chalk pieces lay on the floor, and graffiti covered the desks and chairs. But what caught his attention the most were the three people sitting at the back, his once best friends. His eyes immediately locked on the young man sitting in the middle. With short, clean hair and a crisp white shirt, this handsome face was unforgettable, the perfect protagonist of a novel. It was Xiao Ran. The man who had changed his life in the previous life but left him with endless regrets. A surge of anger, pain, and helplessness welled up inside Lin Bai, transforming into pure hatred for Xiao Ran. Meanwhile, Xiao Ran, sitting in the back, noticed Lin Bai standing at the door. He felt an unsettling look in Lin Bai's eyes, but before he could think too much, the short, chubby man beside him stood up and waved at Lin Bai. Old Lin, hey, old Lin. Seeing the chubby man, Lin Bai's anger was somewhat quelled. The man, Zhu Qian, was also one of Xiao Ran's subordinates. Compared to Lin Bai's own experiences, Zhu Qian's life hadn't been much better. He had been diagnosed with cancer at the age of 30, just when Xiao Ran was at the peak of his career. Due to limited medical resources, Zhu Qian passed away young. When Zhu Qian died, Lin Bai had drunk for 3 days and nights. Zhu Qian had been his true confidant, the one who truly cared for him. Without Zhu Qian, Lin Bai probably wouldn't have recovered so quickly from the pain of losing his lover. Sitting beside Xiao Ran was the seemingly well-mannered, bespectacled man, Jing Wei. Unlike Zhu Qian, Jing Wei came from a prominent family. Although he wasn't a bully, he still had his own arrogance. In the previous life, Xiao Ran hadn't fully won Jing Wei over until later on. Lin Bai didn't have a favorable opinion of Jing Wei. Like Xiao Ran, he had treated Lin Bai and Zhu Qian as tools to do the dirty work while they relaxed in the air-conditioned rooms, giving orders. Now, Lin Bai wasn't just going to take revenge on Xiao Ran, he was going to make Jing Wei feel the true meaning of despair. He happened to know Jing Wei's fiancée, a stunning beauty, and just the thought of her made Lin Bai's blood boil. Jing Wei, we're brothers, but let me check the goods for you first. It's only fair, right? Chapter 4, The Sexy Female Professor. Hey, Lin Bai, are you free tonight? Lin Bai had just settled into his designated seat when a woman dressed in a very short skirt with an alluring figure walked over. Seeing the woman approach him, Xiao Ran and his two companions couldn't hide their shock. Lin Bai raised the corners of his mouth slightly and smiled at the woman, saying softly, "Are you inviting me to dinner, Hong Wei?" Hong Wei flashed a charming smile and replied, "Well, it depends if you're willing to give me face." She even playfully winked at him. As adults, the group immediately understood what Hong Wei meant. At this moment, the three of them, Zhu Qian, Xiao Ran, and Jing Wei, were not just shocked, they were utterly stunned. It was the first time a woman had come up to them, but those women were either interested in the prominent Jing Wei or the handsome Xiao Ran. But today, a woman was approaching Lin Bai, none other than the class beauty, Hong Wei. This left them incredibly surprised and shaken. If the class beauty Hong Wei invited me, how could I dare to refuse? Lin Bai said with a smile. All right, then it's settled. See you after school. With that, Hong Wei turned and walked away. It wasn't until Hong Wei returned to her seat that the three of them came back to their senses. Old Lin, you're not with Hong Wei, are you? Zhu Qian stuttered, asking in disbelief. Xiao Ran and Jing Wei also looked at Lin Bai, waiting for a reasonable explanation. I think it's because of the car, Lin Bai replied casually. Car? What car? The three of them asked in unison, confusion written all over their faces. My God, old Lin, this photo isn't photoshopped, is it? You really bought a car? And it's the Tank 3000, only 300 units in the world. Zhu Qian looked at Lin Bai in shock. Xiao Ran and Jing Wei were equally stunned. Especially Jing Wei, although he looked like a well-mannered scholar, he actually had a penchant for thrill-seeking. The more dangerous, the more excited he became. He had been following the Tank 3000 for a long time, and he had originally planned to buy it as a birthday gift to himself. But now, Lin Bai had beaten him to it. And not only did he get it, he had bought the most luxurious, extreme honor version. Old Lin, I heard this car costs 15 million. Where did you get so much money? Jing Wei asked, his voice filled with suspicion. Zhu Qian, feeling uncomfortable at being outdone, looked at Lin Bai with concern. Old Lin, you didn't rob a bank, did you? Lin Bai smiled and shook his head. Do you think I would do something illegal? Then how did you get the money? Zhu Qian asked, still puzzled. Remember I said this morning I was going to meet someone important? Well, that person is my distant uncle. He came specifically to. Lin Bai paused, continuing the story smoothly. Wow, I can't believe you have a distant uncle with hundreds of billions in assets. That is so enviable. Zhu Qian couldn't help but exclaim. Yeah, I didn't expect it either. But this distant uncle is really wealthy, and he is very generous, Lin Bai nodded with a smile. Your distant uncle is quite the generous person. He just casually gave you 200 million pocket money. Jing Wei asked, his tone dripping with jealousy and a touch of bitterness. Well, he doesn't have any children, so he is looking for someone to inherit his business. That is why he is so generous with me, Lin Bai explained, a proud smile appearing on his face. So, you're going to become a billionaire? Zhu Qian's eyes widened, and he asked incredulously, covering his mouth in disbelief. It's still hard to say. He is still young and in good health, so he'll probably live for several more decades. And from what I know, I'm not the only one he is looking at to inherit his estate, Lin Bai said, pretending to be helpless as he shook his head. I see. Looks like there is going to be a fierce family battle over the inheritance. But I believe, with your ability and wisdom, old Lin, you'll come out on top, Zhu Qian patted Lin Bai's shoulder and encouraged him. I hope so, Lin Bai smiled slightly. Throughout this conversation, Xiao Ran had been silent, but the envy in his eyes was clearly visible. Zheng Wei, on the other hand, seemed unwilling to accept it. Just as he was about to speak, a female professor in a sexy form-fitting skirt walked up to the podium. Her high heels clicked with each step, exuding an air of elegance and confidence, as if the world were at her feet. Her sharp eyes scanned the classroom, making everyone feel an invisible pressure. Seeing the female professor, all the students, including Zheng Wei, quickly opened their textbooks, as if they feared being punished for being even a second late. Their movements were swift and synchronized, as if they had been trained like soldiers. Every face was serious, and no one dared to slack off. But Lin Bai didn't care at all. He kept his gaze fixed on the alluring figure on the podium, his eyes burning with interest. A barely noticeable smile played at the corner of his mouth. The female professor wore a tight black skirt that accentuated her curvy figure, particularly her well-formed hips. The skirt ended just above her knees, revealing her long, white legs. She wore a white shirt with a black tie, giving her a sharp, professional look. The fabric of her shirt was thin enough to hint at the outline of her inner wear. Her long hair cascaded down her shoulders like a waterfall, with a subtle fragrance in the air. Her skin was smooth and fair, like milk, and her lips were painted with bright red lipstick, resembling ripe cherries, tempting anyone to taste them. Her eyes were bright and deep, like the petals of an apricot blossom in full bloom, radiating a captivating charm. Her features were exquisite, her straight nose, full lips, and round chin, everything was perfectly proportioned. Her beauty wasn't just in her appearance, it was in her graceful and composed demeanor, making everyone around her fall under her spell. Meanwhile, the female professor noticed the intense gaze coming from Lin Bai. But she didn't think much of it, as she had seen such looks countless times over the years. What she didn't know was that this time, the one staring at her wasn't just any admirer this time, it was a true wolf, one that would devour her whole. Alright, let's begin class. Today, we'll discuss Chapter 5, The Class Beauty Invites You. Today's class ends here. See you next time. As the bell rang, the sexy female professor smiled and said goodbye to the students, then left the classroom gracefully. The moment she stepped out of the classroom door, the originally quiet classroom suddenly became lively. The atmosphere of the university is completely different from that of high school. There is no tight time pressure and piles of test papers. Once the class is over, the students can't wait to discuss where to go next. Especially in the afternoon, everyone is looking forward to the beauty of the night. I have an appointment, so I'll leave first. After handing the textbook to Zhu Qian, Lin Bai slipped out of the back door. This old Lin, he really forgets his loyalty when he sees beauty. Zhu Qian couldn't help but muttered in a low voice. Xiao Ran couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Har har, that's the class beauty. If it were you, you might run faster than Lao Lin. Zhu Qian scratched his head awkwardly. It seems so. At this time, Zheng Wei suddenly asked, but why do you think the class beauty Hong Da asked Lao Lin out alone? Is she really in love with Lao Lin? Zhu Qian and Xiao Ran looked at each other and shook their heads, saying they didn't know. Zheng Wei continued, I don't think it's possible. If she really likes Lao Lin, why didn't she date him earlier? Instead, she waited until Lao Lin bought the Tank 3000 before taking action. When Zhu Qian heard this, he became nervous. Brother Wei, do you mean Hong Banhua might be attracted by Lao Lin's money? Zheng Wei shrugged, this is just my guess. Zhu Qian's face changed and he immediately became serious. No, we must not let this happen. Lao Lin finally got rich, but he can't ruin it because of a woman. When he comes back, I must persuade him to be careful of Hong Ya and not be deceived by beauty. Xiao Ran nodded slightly to show his agreement. He continued, then I'll leave it to you to remind Lao Lin. I have a date tonight, so I have to leave first. After that, Xiao Ran turned and left. Only Zhu Qian and Jing Wei were left in the classroom. Zhu Qian looked at Jing Wei, the only one still present, and suggested, Brother Wei, since both of them are going on a date, why don't we two single guys go to the internet cafe to have fun together? However, Jing Wei shook his head and replied, no, I have already made an appointment to race with others tonight. He patted Zhu Qian on the shoulder and left. Zhu Qian sat alone in the classroom, muttering to himself in confusion, am I alone? On the other side, Lin Bai just walked out of the teaching building and saw a tall figure standing under a big tree not far away. The sun shone through the leaves and fell on her, reflecting her beautiful profile, like a fairy in the forest. Lin Bai raised the corner of his mouth slightly, revealing a smile, and walked towards Hong Yue. "Hongdar class flower, are you waiting for me?" he asked softly. Hong Yue turned her head and looked at Lin Bai, with a smile on her face. "What do you think?" The two smiled at each other, as if they were old friends with tacit understanding for many years. A few minutes later, they appeared at the school gate. "You really bought the Tank 3000. Hong Yue stared at the huge car with a fiery look in her eyes flashing with excitement. Lin Bai smiled and nodded. "How is it, do you like it?" "Of course." Hong Yue did not hide her love for this car. "If you like it, then this car will be given to you," Lin Bai said casually. Hong Yue was slightly stunned. "Give it to me? Are you kidding? I heard that this car costs at least 10 million. Do you think I'm kidding?" Lin Bai said calmly. Hong Yue could feel that Lin Bai was serious. It was impossible for her not to be moved. The reason why she asked Lin Bai out was because of this car. But when this car became within reach, she didn't know how to choose. "Forget it, I don't like to eat charity." After thinking again and again, Hong Yue still refused this overwhelming wealth. "Oh? Class flower Hong has really made up her mind. This car cost me 15 million. Even if I sell it now, it can be sold for at least 12 million. Lin Bai stared at Hong Yue with a smile. "You don't need to say anything more. I don't want it if I say no." Hong Yue rolled her eyes at Lin Bai and said. Lin Bai couldn't help but tease. "I thought class flower Hong asked me out because she liked this car. It seems that I thought too much." Hong Yue was slightly stunned, but quickly regained her composure and said with an unchanged expression, "So are you going to leave or not?" "Of course, it is my honor to have dinner with class flower Hong." "Then why don't you open the door? I should be the first girl to sit in this passenger seat, right?" Hong Yue couldn't help asking as soon as she fastened her seat belt. "If you don't count the sales manager of the 4S store, class flower Hong is indeed the first one," Lin Bai replied slowly. Hearing this, Hong Yue showed a satisfied look in her eyes. "But, will the class beauty Hong really not tell me what the purpose is? What are you afraid of? Am I going to eat you? Just follow my route." "Oh." Lin Bai had just driven Hong Yue away when Xiao Ran appeared at the school gate. Looking at the Tank 3000 driving not far away, Xiao Ran's eyes also flashed with envy. Which man doesn't want to own such a magical car? Although he can't afford it now, it doesn't mean he can't afford it in the future. One day, he will drive the most expensive luxury car and live a life that everyone envies. Lin Bai, dream on, I'm here, you are destined to drive a flatbed truck in this life. Just when Xiao Ran was immersed in his fantasy, a beautiful figure appeared behind him quietly. She tiptoed to Xiao Ran's side, then quickly took out a bottle of mineral water and pressed it against Xiao Ran's waist. "Don't move, robbing." Xiao Ran heard the voice, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a knowing smile. He did not resist at all, but raised his hands very cooperatively to surrender. "I wonder if you want to rob me of money or sex. I have no money, only this body is still presentable. If you don't mind, then I will have to obey you," Xiao Ran deliberately said in a playful tone. Hearing Xiao Ran's words, the girl stomped her feet in anger, pouted her lips and said coquettishly, "Xiao Ran, you only know how to bully me." Xiao Ran turned around and looked at the beautiful woman in front of him, his eyes full of tenderness and pampering. The woman in front of him was Yi Qingxue, who had just established a relationship with him. At this moment, the afterglow of the setting sun fell on them, dyeing the whole world golden. Under the golden light, Yi Qingxue's face looked particularly charming, as if she exuded a unique charm, so that Xiao Ran was a little dazed for a while. Feeling Xiao Ran's fiery gaze, Yi Qingxue's face flushed with shyness, and she said softly and coquettishly, "Silly, how long are you going to stare at me like this?" Xiao Ran came back to his senses as if he had just woken up from a dream, and quickly apologized, "I'm sorry, it's because you are too beautiful." Yi Qingxue shyly rolled her eyes at Xiao Ran. "Let's go quickly, the restaurant we are going to is a little busy, and there will be no seats if we go late." "Yeah." "Huh? Qingxue, what's wrong with your legs? Why are you walking strangely?" Chapter 6 Meeting Yi Qingxue in the restaurant. Are you sure we are eating here? Lin Bai looked at the restaurant in disbelief. He never thought that Hong Wai would bring him to such a place. Along the way, he tried to get the destination from Hong Wai, but Hong Wai's mouth was tighter than he thought. Lin Bai was no stranger to the restaurant in front of him. It was the most popular online celebrity couple restaurant in Yicheng Romantic. Although the name sounds like that of a Western country, the owner of this restaurant is actually a native of Yicheng, and even most of the dishes in the restaurant are Longwa cuisine. It was just because the owner seized the opportunity of short videos that the restaurant became popular in one fell swoop. If you are afraid of being seen by your friends of the opposite sex, we can also change places. Hong Ya blinked playfully. I should say this to the class flower Hong Da. You have so many suitors. If it is because of me that someone's fish pond is disturbed, I can't bear this responsibility. Lin Bai teased. As the class flower, it is natural that she will be paid attention to. Even if Lin Bai doesn't pay much attention, he can often hear gossip about Hong Ya. Hong Ya has good looks and a good figure, so naturally she has many suitors, and even many of them are from Yicheng's big families. Although there are rumors, they have never been confirmed, and those rich young masters who are being harassed are never tired of it, so it is not difficult to see that Hong Ya still has some means. This reminds Lin Bai of the news about Hong Ya that he accidentally heard in his previous life. This girl, can't she? So, are you scared now? Hong Ya looked at Lin Bai with a smile. Lin Bai's mouth curled up. He has lived 2 lives and is not afraid of Yi Qingxue and the Yi family, so how could he be afraid of Hong Ya? There is no word for scared in my dictionary, but there are so many people here, are you sure we can get a number? Do you think I am someone who will queue? Hong Ya smiled meaningfully. Lin Bai was slightly stunned, and then he agreed. Hong Ya has so many suitors, and it is not a problem to get a VIP pass. As expected, after Hong Ya took out a red card, the 2 of them crossed the long queue outside and walked into the restaurant. A couple's restaurant is a couple's restaurant after all. Not only is the lighting full of warm colors, the decoration is also dominated by red, and there are roses everywhere, and the whole restaurant is filled with fragrance. There is a long queue outside, but there are still many seats in the restaurant. It is obvious that the boss is doing hunger marketing. Coming to the second floor, there are more empty seats here and the environment is more quiet. The 2 found a comfortable seat by the window and sat down. Outside the window, the sunset sprinkled on the bustling streets, with heavy traffic and people coming and going. Hong Ya handed the menu to Lin Bai and said with a smile, "Take a look, what do you want to eat?" Lin Bai took the menu, his mouth corners slightly raised, and looked at Hong Ya with a sly smile. From what Hong Dabenhuer said, "Can I eat anything I want?" His eyes revealed a kind of ridicule and expectation. Hong Ya is no longer the simple girl she was back then. She naturally knows what Lin Bai is hinting at. A faint blush appeared on her face, but she did not show shyness or retreat. On the contrary, she rested her chin and stared at Lin Bai with interest, as if she was curious about his reaction. I thought you were quite honest, but I didn't expect you to have so many tricks. Hong Ya said softly, with a hint of smile in her tone. Lin Bai didn't care about being exposed, but smiled and responded, I also thought that the class flower of Hongda was very ordinary. I didn't expect that she could even get the VIP ticket of this restaurant without showing her face. Hong Ya smiled slightly, with a hint of pride in her eyes. You can buy a luxury car worth 15 million, so it seems that it's nothing for me to get a small ticket. But I am really curious, how did you suddenly have such a large sum of money? Hong Ya asked. Lin Bai looked around, then looked at Hong Ya and said, Are you sure you want to talk about these things in such a romantic place? Hong Ya was obviously stunned. In that case, let's talk after eating. You are so rich, it's not too much to have a meal, right? Without Lin Bai's consent, Hong Ya took the menu and started to outline it. At the same time, 2 familiar figures came outside the romantic restaurant. Qingxue, there are too many people here, why don't we change places? Yes, the people who came were Xiao Ran and his girlfriend Yi Qingxue. You came all the way here, why didn't you say it in the car just now? Yi Qingxue said with a pout. Xiao Ran looked at the long queue outside and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect there would be so many people here. It would take several hours for so many people to queue up. What if I can solve the problem of queuing? Yi Qingxue suddenly said. Can you handle it? Yi Qingxue smiled mysteriously, then took out a red card from the bag on her shoulder. My roommate just happened to have some connections, so I asked her to get me a VIP ticket. Xiao Ran was shocked. He had heard about this restaurant. The VIP ticket of this restaurant was very valuable. In order to get this VIP ticket, I promised to help someone pound his shoulders for a month. You won't let me suffer in vain, right? Yiqingxue said again. Hearing this, Xiao Ran's heart was warmed, and the envy of Lin Bai in his heart disappeared. Well, let's go in. After taking out the VIP ticket, the two successfully walked into the restaurant, which broke the defense of the couples who were queuing outside. They had waited for an hour or even longer. As a result, someone rushed in front of them one after another. Is there any justice? Is there any law? The two went straight past the first floor and came to the second floor with the best view. As soon as he came to the second floor, Yiqingxue was shocked, as if he had seen something terrible, with a look of horror on his face. Qingxue, what's wrong with you? Xiao Ran looked surprised. Following Yiqingxue's gaze, he saw Lin Bai and Hong Huaye sitting in front of the window. At the same time, Lin Bai also noticed the two of them. He stood up and greeted them. Brother Ran, sister-in-law, are you here to eat too? Hong Huaye also turned her head at this time. She was also very surprised to see Xiao Ran and Yiqingxue. Xiao Ran is more handsome than Lin Bai, but he has no money and is not her type. However, Yiqingxue made her very concerned. She was still very confident in her appearance, but she was somewhat eclipsed in front of Yiqingxue. How could Xiao Ran, such an ordinary person, find such a beautiful girlfriend? Yiqingxue was so depressed at the moment. It turned out that she had a good date, but she met this dead ghost. Now she couldn't run away or go in. Lin Bai, this is fate. I originally thought it was a bit boring to eat here, but now it's fun. Chapter 7 Getting the Class Beauty Drunk. It is undoubtedly the most painful to meet an acquaintance on a date, and the acquaintance you least want to see. From the moment she sat down, Yiqingxue's hands were like glued to the edge of her skirt, tightly clenched, as if she wanted to tear the skirt apart. And this is not the worst. What's more, as long as she looks up, she can see Lin Bai's disgusting face and his mean smile. Every time she sees him, Yiqingxue can't help but recall everything that happened in the hotel box this morning. Although she didn't have that memory at first, what happened later was deeply imprinted in her mind, as clear as if it had just happened. She wanted to ask for a change of restaurant countless times, but every time she saw Xiao Ran's loving and affectionate eyes, her lips seemed to be glued and couldn't open. So, she could only endure the torment in her heart and continue to sit in this place that made her uncomfortable. At the same time, Lin Bai and Hong Huaye on the other side had already started enjoying the food. While eating, Hong Huaye looked at Lin Bai with a strange look. Finally, she couldn't help but ask, "You seem to be very happy." Lin Bai raised his eyebrows and replied with a smile, "Really?" Hong Huaye rolled her eyes and said unhappily, "Do you want to look at the corners of your mouth?" Lin Bai subconsciously touched the corners of his mouth and found that there was a trace of smile there. He smiled awkwardly and explained, "I can't help it. Who let the class flower sitting in front of me be Hong Da?" Hearing this, Hong Huaye's cheeks flushed instantly. She glared at Lin Bai fiercely and scolded, "Eating can't stop your mouth. It's so boring to just eat. Do you want to drink something?" Lin Bai suddenly said. "Are you trying to get me drunk?" Hong Huaye looked at Lin Bai with a weird look. "I do want to, but I don't know if the class beauty Hong will give me this opportunity." After a moment of silence, Hong Huaye suddenly laughed, with a hint of provocation in her laughter. "I'm afraid that you will be the first to fall." Lin Bai curled his lips. He had lived two lives and might lose to Hong Huaye in other aspects, but he would never lose to Hong Huaye in drinking, not to mention that he still had the system. "Waiter, order some wine." Seeing that Lin Bai had already started drinking, Yiqingxue frowned. Originally, she was still hoping that this annoying guy would finish eating and leave early, but now the two of them were actually drinking. If she kept drinking like this, wouldn't her date here be ruined? No, this can't go on, she had to do something. She took out her cell phone and quickly ordered it. After a while, the cell phone that Lin Bai had put aside rang. However, Lin Bai seemed not to hear it and poured Hong Huaye one glass after another. Seeing that Lin Bai had not been reading the messages, Yiqingxue could only continue bombarding. After a long time, I don't know if Hong Huaye couldn't hold it anymore, or because she couldn't stand the noise of the phone, she finally reminded Lin Bai. Take a look at the message, maybe it's urgent, it's been ringing for so long. No matter how urgent it is, it's not as important as drinking with Hong Daban Hua. Lin Bai said as he poured himself another glass. Are you going to reply to the message or not? If you don't, I won't drink. Hong Ye said a little dizzy. Because of the wine, Hong Ye looked like a red apple at the moment, making people want to kiss her. On the other hand, Lin Bai didn't seem drunk at all. Okay, in that case, let's take a break. After Lin Bai glanced at Yi Qingxue who was about to explode in the distance, he picked up the phone. After clicking a few times on the phone, Lin Bai got up and left. Seeing Lin Bai leave, Hong Ye also breathed a sigh of relief. She thought she had a good alcohol tolerance, but she didn't expect to be so vulnerable in front of Lin Bai. If she continued to drink, she would really get drunk. On the other side, after seeing Lin Bai leave, Yi Qingxue also left on the pretext of going to the toilet. When she came to the toilet, she saw Lin Bai waiting there. Why don't you reply to my message? Yi Qingxue asked as soon as she came up. I was drinking just now and didn't see it. Sorry. Lin Bai shrugged innocently. Knowing that Lin Bai was doing it on purpose, Yi Qingxue was helpless. She took a deep breath and said, Tell me, what do you want to leave here? Leave. 100,000. As long as you take that girl away from here immediately, I will transfer you 100,000 immediately. Wow, you are worthy of being the daughter of the Yi family. You just gave 100,000. Lin Bai teased. Take the money and leave quickly. I don't want to see you. Yi Qingxue said disdainfully. Wait, I don't think I promised you. Yi Qingxue's face darkened instantly. 300,000. Lin Bai shook his head. 500,000. Shaked his head. 1 million. That's enough, Lin Bai, don't push your luck. Yi Qingxue gritted her teeth and said. I can leave, but I don't want the money. Lin Bai walked towards Yi Qingxue. Looking at Lin Bai with a malicious look on his face, Yi Qingxue also became nervous. What do you want to do? This is a restaurant, there are people everywhere. If you mess around, I will yell. If you want Xiao Ran to find out about our relationship, just yell. Hearing this, Yi Qingxue instantly became honest. Lin Bai also took the opportunity to touch her flawless face again. In the restaurant, as soon as Yi Qingxue left, the dishes ordered by the two were served one after another. Xiao Ran first adjusted the tableware, took a few photos, and then waited patiently. On the other side, Hong Ye, who was already a little drunk, lay on the table after Lin Bai left. After a while, she fell asleep. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. As time passed, Xiao Ran, who was originally expectant, became anxious. He could wait, but the food couldn't. There was no reply after sending a message to Yi Qingxue. After waiting for a few more minutes, Xiao Ran couldn't wait any longer and immediately took his phone to the toilet. The toilets in the internet celebrity couple restaurant are not only extremely luxurious, but also private single rooms. Xiao Ran found several empty toilets in a row, and then came to the toilet where Yi Qingxue was. First, he knocked on the door politely. Qingxue, are you in there? Yi Qingxue in the toilet was instantly panicked when she heard Xiao Ran's voice. You stop, Xiao Ran is outside. Then let him wait outside. You. Chapter 8 Hong Ye pretending to be drunk. When Lin Bai returned to his seat, more than half an hour had passed. Hong Ye seemed to be really asleep, lying motionless on the table. Lin Bai gently packed her things, then carefully picked her up and walked in front of Xiao Ran. Brother Ran, where is the sister-in-law? Lin Bai deliberately pretended not to know and asked with a smile. Xiao Ran smiled bitterly and shook his head helplessly. Qingxue is not feeling well and is still in the toilet. As he said, he also glanced at Hong Ye in Lin Bai's arms. Are you going to leave? Lin Bai nodded and replied, yes, she is a little drunk, I came here to say goodbye to you, Brother Ran. I know, you guys be careful along the way. Xiao Ran nodded slightly and reminded. Lin Bai smiled, patted Xiao Ran's shoulder earnestly, and said, Brother Ran, don't be too sad. Women have those days every month. You should be more considerate of your sister-in-law. After hearing this, Xiao Ran smiled bitterly in his heart, thinking that this guy was really talking about something that was not related to the topic. But he still nodded to show that he understood. System, check Xiao Ran's panel. Ding, Xiao Ran's panel is being queried. Name, Xiao Ran. Age, 21. Height, 182. Weight, 153. Appearance, 97. Hate value, 3. Their hate value of only 3 is indeed rising very slowly, but this is exactly what he wants. If it rises too fast, it will be meaningless. Thank you for the hospitality, brother. I'll leave first. After Lin Bai showed a barely noticeable smile, he turned around and left with Hong Wei in his arms. When they passed the toilet, they happened to meet Yi Qingxue, who had just come out of the toilet. Although Yi Qingxue had already tidied herself up, a clear blush could still be seen on her face. The two did not say hello. Yi Qingxue glared at Lin Bai fiercely and walked away quickly. Back to her seat, Yi Qingxue looked at Xiao Ran with an apologetic face. I'm really sorry to have made you wait for so long. It's okay, health is the most important. Yi Qingxue knew that Xiao Ran was forcing a smile. When dating, asking the other party to wait for one more minute will cause dissatisfaction, not to mention that she was dragged in for more than half an hour. Damn Lin Bai, I won't let you go. On the other side, Lin Bai, who had just got in the car, sneezed. You don't have to guess that it must be Yi Qingxue who was scolding him. After Lin Bai took another look at Hong Wei, who was drunk in the back seat, he started the car and left. More than 10 minutes later, the two came to a nearby 6-star hotel. After checking in, Lin Bai carried Hong Wei to the luxurious presidential suite that cost 88,888 a night. After putting Hong Wei on the bed, Lin Bai began to look at the beauty in front of him. System, check Hong Wei's panel. Soon, a yellow panel appeared in Lin Bai's mind. Name, Hong Wei. Age, 22. Height, 165. Weight, 98. Appearance, 96. Hate value, 0. With an appearance of 96, she is indeed the class flower. This figure is also top-notch. As long as Lin Bai wants, he can take down Hong Wei now. I don't know if it's because he just bullied Yi Qingxue, but now he doesn't have such a strong impulse. Or maybe it's because of some other reasons. After a sigh, Lin Bai turned around, walked slowly, and was about to leave. However, just when he walked to the door, Hong Wei's voice suddenly came from behind him. The voice was a little lazy and tempting. Are you really going to leave like this? Lin Bai stopped, turned around in confusion, and his eyes fell on Hong Wei, his face full of surprise. He looked at Hong Wei, with a bit of surprise in his tone. You are not drunk. Hong Wei supported her head with one hand, her body slightly tilted, and looked at Lin Bai in an extremely charming posture. She raised the corners of her mouth, revealing a charming smile. If I was not drunk, why would you bring me to the hotel? Lin Bai frowned tightly, and a feeling of displeasure surged in his heart. He stared at Hong Wei, his voice low. So from the beginning, you deliberately pretended to be drunk. The purpose is to let me take you here. Hong Wei smiled without saying a word, with a cunning light flashing in her eyes. Why did you choose me? Lin Bai's expression was complicated, and his eyes revealed confusion and confusion. The various rumors about Hong Wei in his mind became clearer and more specific at this time. Hong Wei was slightly stunned, obviously did not expect Lin Bai to ask such a direct question. She was silent for a moment, then whispered, How do you know? Lin Bai smiled slightly, with a hint of confidence in his eyes. If I say this is just my guess, will you believe it, Hong Da class flower? Hong Wei looked at Lin Bai with a meaningful smile on her face. If I believe it, then do you dare to push me down? Lin Bai answered without hesitation, why not? More than an hour later, Lin Bai looked at Hong Wei in disbelief. Is this your first time? Hong Wei rolled her eyes at Lin Bai in anger. Otherwise, do you think I'm a kind of woman who casually goes to bed with men? No, I heard that there are many rich young masters chasing you. I thought you had already. Before he finished speaking, Lin Bai screamed. Why are you pinching me? What do you think? Who asked you to tarnish my reputation? It's true that they are chasing me, but will I give it to them casually? Then why did you give it to me? Lin Bai asked, the doubts in his heart. Didn't you guess it all? Hong Wei smiled and blinked. Lin Bai's eyes became complicated again, and the rumors about Hong Wei in the previous life replayed in his mind again. In the previous life, Hong Wei had many suitors, including many rich young masters, just like now. But no matter how the gossip spread, there was no real evidence. It was not until the eve of graduation that Hong Wei was exposed to have a boyfriend. Hong Wei was a campus celebrity, so the exposure of the relationship caused a sensation. Everyone was curious about who won Hong Wei's expectations, but when they saw the photo of Hong Wei's boyfriend, everyone was stunned. Not as handsome as imagined, but bald at first glance. Yes, Hong Wei's boyfriend in the previous life was a bald middle-aged man with a beer belly. Everyone was shocked. They, including Lin Bai, did not expect Hong Wei to find such a person as a partner. After a deep investigation, they also learned the details of the man. It turned out that the man was a nouveau riche. After winning 1 billion in the lottery, he abandoned his wife. Everyone thought Hong Wei was a mistress. At that time, the matter was still a big deal. In the end, Hong Wei dropped out of school. The next time they heard about Hong Wei was when she participated in a talent show as a trainee and finally debuted with the second place. I thought her future career would be smooth, but later it was revealed that she had affairs with many directors and producers. After being banned, Hong Wei disappeared, and Lin Bai never heard any news about Hong Wei since then. So you are interested in my money? Chapter 9: Hong Wei's decision. Aren't you afraid that you will run away after I sleep with you? No. Why? Hong Wei smiled, because of intuition. Lin Bai was speechless. Since you are here for money, why don't you choose those rich young masters? They are much richer than me. Lin Bai asked again. Hong Wei shook her head. It's good to be a rich wife, but you don't have freedom. Lin Bai subconsciously thought of participating in the talent show in his previous life. It seems that the reason why Hong Wei did this was to debut. What an ambitious woman. Seeing that Lin Bai was silent, Hong Wei continued. I am from the countryside, my family is very poor, my parents borrowed money from almost all the nearby villages to make enough money for me to go to college. I came to Yichin with great joy. It is just as I imagined, with bright lights, high-rise buildings, everything looks so beautiful. But for a student like me who has difficulty in eating, all this is out of reach. At first I really believed that studying can change my destiny, but when I saw one senior after another sitting and working hard for 3,000 yuan a month, I woke up. I don't want to repeat my daily life step by step, and I don't want to be exploited by the company. So I started to learn to dress myself up and take advantage of my own strengths. Sure enough, before long, many boys began to pursue me and gave me all kinds of gifts. What they didn't know was that the gifts they gave me that day were sold by me at a low price the next day. With their help, in less than 2 months, I paid off all the expenses for college, and even had some money left. But I was not satisfied, and I began to set my sights on rich people. In this way, day after day, relying on their continuous charity, I became a millionaire before I graduated. Do you think I still need to study? But if you go on like this, you won't feel happy. Lin Bai suddenly said. This sentence was like a thin needle, gently piercing Hong Wei's heart. She was slightly startled, and the light in her eyes gradually dimmed. She sighed softly, with a hint of helplessness and bitterness in her tone. Yes, I am not happy. I have to force myself to smile every day. Not only do I have to accompany those men to drink, but I also have to be on guard against being drugged. To protect myself, I also practiced my alcohol tolerance in this way. But this kind of life is really too tiring. I really don't want to continue like this. Lin Bai listened quietly to Hong Wei's confession, and his eyes showed a hint of understanding and sympathy. Others don't know how difficult it is for poor college students to succeed, but he knows it very well, because his situation is not much different from Hong Wei's. Lin Bai smiled slightly and asked calmly, So you are targeting me? Hong Wei nodded without hesitation, her voice firm and decisive. Yes, I see hope in you. I believe that as long as I follow you, I will definitely live a better life. Lin Bai smiled lightly, and there was a hint of teasing in his eyes. Aren't you afraid that I have nothing but the car? Hong Wei shook her head. I was indeed worried about this problem at first, but the moment you decided to give me the car, I realized that you are definitely not an ordinary person. A luxury car worth 15 million yuan is given away as soon as you say it, which shows that you don't care about the money at all. Lin Bai smiled, and he had to admit that Hong Wei's insight was still very strong. She could see other people's thoughts and strengths from some subtle actions, which is definitely not something that ordinary people can do. So are you willing to accept me? Hong Wei looked at Lin Bai nervously. Facts have proved that she made the right bet. Lin Bai is indeed very rich, and she has given herself up for it. But the key to the problem is still Lin Bai. If Lin Bai does not accept her, then she will still be empty-handed. Lin Bai did not reply to Hong Ye, but stared at him expressionlessly. Seeing that Lin Bai had not spoken, Hong Ye could not sit still. Lin Bai, I know that my request is a bit excessive, but I don't ask for much. As long as you help me a few times at the critical moment, it will be enough. I will not interfere with your private life. As long as you need me, I will rush there immediately. Hearing this, Lin Bai, who had been silent all the time, finally made some moves. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a faint smile. So, the class flower Hong wants to be my lover. Hong Ye bit her red lips, feeling a little shy in her heart, but she still nodded firmly. If you don't mind, I can. Lin Bai smiled lightly, with a sly look in his eyes. Lover is forget it, I just need a girlfriend. I wonder if Hong Dabenhua is interested. Hong Ye heard this, her face suddenly showed an expression of disbelief. She widened her eyes and stared at Lin Bai blankly. You want me to be your girlfriend? Lin Bai smiled and nodded. His eyes fell on Hong Ye without concealment. Hong Dabenhua is so beautiful and has such a good figure, it's a pity to be a lover. What do you think of Hong Dabenhua? Hong Ye was ecstatic. She originally thought that being a lover was a blessing, but she didn't expect Lin Bai to take the initiative to ask her to be a girlfriend, which was undoubtedly a huge surprise. She nodded and agreed quickly. I do. Don't rush to agree, I let you be my girlfriend with conditions. You make a decision after listening. Lin Bai suddenly said seriously. He likes Hong Ye's straightforward character very much, but the rumors in the previous life are still fresh in his memory. He will not wear a green hat on himself. Go ahead. First, I want you to break off your relationship with those lickers immediately. Remember, all of them. If I find out that you are still in contact with one of them, then our relationship will end. I would do this even if you don't tell me. Hong Ye smiled. She had long had enough of those stinky men. Lin Bai nodded with satisfaction. Second, if you want to make it public about our relationship, I have no objection to that. Third, since we are already dating, your business is my business. Just tell me what you want to do. As long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. That's all. That's all. Hong Ye was stunned. She thought Lin Bai would make some excessive demands, but she didn't expect it to be so plain. It was basically the same as not asking anything. Give me your bank card number. No need. I have money. I'll add one more thing. I will be the master of the family in the future. You can't go against my wishes. You are quite overbearing. Although she was complaining, Hong Ye felt sweet in her heart. There is no doubt that she made the right bet this time. Chapter 10 Angry Yi Qingxue. Did you lose an extra zero? Hong Ye looked at her bank card balance in disbelief. Due to someone's overbearing behavior, she had no choice but to accept the transfer. However, when she saw the transfer amount, she was dumbfounded. 8 zeros, a full 100 million. This astronomical figure shocked and overwhelmed her. How many bags does she need to sell to make so much money? No mistake, it's 100 million. Lin Bai's tone was calm and firm, as if it was just a trivial matter. Hong Ye looked at Lin Bai with mixed feelings, and an indescribable emotion surged in her heart. To be honest, she didn't have real feelings for Lin Bai, but more of using him to achieve her own goals. Once the goal was achieved, she planned to draw a line with Lin Bai and no longer have any relationship with him. But now, facing Lin Bai's generous move, she suddenly felt a little confused and didn't know how to deal with it. Aren't you afraid that I will take the money and run away? Hong Ye tried to stay calm, but there was still a hint of uneasiness in her voice. Lin Bai smiled slightly, and his eyes revealed a reassuring power. Not afraid. Why? Hong Ye couldn't help but ask curiously. Lin Bai raised his mouth and answered confidently, because of intuition. Hearing this familiar answer, Hong Ye's face also showed a happy smile. So you are deliberately trying to please me? Do you want me to be unable to leave you? Hong Ye suddenly said. Lin Bai quietly approached, looking directly at Hong Ye. What do you think? I think so. Before she finished speaking, Hong Ye rushed over. Compared to the enthusiasm here, Xiao Ran had a bitter face. Bai waited in the couple's restaurant for more than half an hour, and finally waited for someone to come out, but the food was cold. There was no way, the two could only wait for another wave of food. When the two finished their meal, it was already past 9 o'clock. Yiqingxue had originally planned to go to the movies together, but now that plan has been cancelled due to lack of time. So Yiqingxue suggested going to the nearby food street, and Xiao Ran readily agreed. But it seemed that God didn't want the two to have a perfect date. As soon as they arrived at the snack street, Yiqingshue's phone rang. A few minutes later, Yiqingxue left in advance because of something in the dormitory, leaving Xiao Ran alone in a daze at the entrance of the snack street. Am I really out for a date today? Xiao Ran couldn't help but doubt himself. Just then, the phone vibrated again. When he opened it, it was a message from Yiqingxue. I'm really sorry today. I had a series of problems on the date we agreed to. Please don't be angry, my boyfriend. Qingxue really didn't mean it. I will definitely give you a more perfect date another day. Love you tilde. Seeing this message, Xiao Ran's face improved a lot. Isn't it just a date? He and Yiqingxue have just been together, and there are still many days to come. Just like what Lao Lin said, women always feel uncomfortable for a few days every month, and as a boyfriend, I should be considerate of her. Immediately, Xiao Ran replied to Yiqingxue, take care of yourself, I love you too. Putting down the phone, Xiao Ran thought of Lin Bai and the school beauty Hong Yue again. Will Lao Lin really send Hong Yue back to school? On the other side, Yiqingxue, who was sitting in the luxury car, received Xiao Ran's message, with a happy smile on her face, her mouth slightly raised, and a hint of sweetness and tenderness in her eyes. She was immersed in this joy, as if she had forgotten everything around her. However, happiness is always short-lived. When the luxury car slowly stopped at the door of her house, Yiqingshue's expression instantly became cold and serious, as if she was wearing a mask. The Yi family mansion is like a palace, standing in the most prosperous area of Yicheng. This mansion covers an area of more than 100 acres, surrounded by high walls and iron gates, giving people a sense of majesty and mystery. There are independent gardens, ponds, rockeries and other landscapes in the house, which are beautiful and like a paradise. The garden is shaded by green trees, flowers are in full bloom, and the fragrance is overflowing, making people intoxicated. The maids and bodyguards that can be seen everywhere at a solemn and safe atmosphere. Welcome home, second miss. Wherever Yiqingxue passed, she would always be welcomed by maids and bodyguards, but Yiqingxue seemed not to hear it, and walked through the corridors and went straight to the reception room. In the magnificent living room, a sturdy and serious middle-aged man was sitting on the sofa. He was holding a few photos in his hand. The photos showed the scene of Yiqingxue and Xiao Ran dining in the romantic restaurant not long ago. Next to him, there was a plump and beautiful woman wearing a cheongsam and endlessly charming. Compared with the serious middle-aged man, the beautiful woman's eyes were full of teasing. Is she not back yet? The middle-aged man said. Maybe he's still on their way. I'll ask the housekeeper to hurry him up. The beautiful woman said lazily. As soon as she finished speaking, Yiqingshue's voice came from the door, no need, I'm back. Looking in the direction of the voice, she saw Yiqingxue who had already appeared at the door of the living room. Qingxue, come quickly, your father has been waiting for you for a long time. The beautiful woman stood up and greeted Yiqingxue. However, Yiqingxue seemed not to hear it, and went straight to the middle-aged man, her father, Yi Qian, the head of the Yi family. I wonder what urgent matter my father wants to see me for. Take a look for yourself. Yi Qian snorted coldly and slammed the photo in his hand heavily on the coffee table in front of him. Hearing this, Yiqingshue's eyes quickly cast towards the coffee table. When she saw the scene in the photo clearly, her pupils suddenly contracted, and a trace of shock and anger flashed in her eyes. Then, she turned her head suddenly, glared at the beautiful woman beside her, and asked with gritted teeth, did you tell on me? The beautiful woman was frightened by Yiqingshue's sharp eyes. She lowered her head and explained with a trembling voice, I am also worried that you will be bullied. I don't need you to worry. Yiqingshue's voice was full of anger. I warn you, if you send someone to follow me again, don't blame me for being rude to you. Enough, Yiqingxue, apologize to your second mother. At this moment, Yi Qian suddenly shouted loudly. Yiqingxue looked at Yi Qian in shock, her eyes full of confusion and anger. Why should I apologize to her? She is your second mother, and I asked her to follow you. Yi Qian said in a serious tone. Hearing this, Yi Qingxue was stunned. She looked at Yi Qian in disbelief, with a look of disappointment and sadness on her face. After a moment of silence, she took a deep breath, a trace of determination flashed in her eyes, and then she glared at the beautiful woman fiercely, and then left. As soon as Yi Qingxue walked out of the room, the beautiful woman fell into Yi Qian's arms and cried. Wow, I'm really worried about her. Yi Qian gently stroked the beautiful woman's back and comforted her. I know, don't blame you, it's all my fault. Since her mother passed away, she has become more and more lawless. Chapter 11 Public Relationship. In the early morning, the bright sunlight shone through the curtains and gently fell on the face of the beautiful woman on the bed. Her porcelain white skin looked particularly charming in the sun, like a fine work of art. The woman slowly opened her eyes, and her bright eyes were like bright stars, revealing a unique charm. She looked at the unfamiliar environment in front of her and was stunned at first, as if she had forgotten where she was. However, after a moment, she seemed to remember what happened last night, and a faint blush appeared on her face, like a blooming peach blossom, shy and dripping. She turned her head and her eyes fell on the empty pillow beside her. Her eyes dimmed instantly, as if they had lost their luster. However, at this moment, the bedroom door was suddenly pushed open gently. The woman who heard the movement quickly turned her head and looked at the door. When she saw who was coming, her face bloomed with a bright smile again, like a flower blooming in spring, full of vitality and vigor. Since you are awake, get up. I ordered some breakfast. After eating, we will go back to school together. The man's voice was low and calm, without any ripples, but with an irresistible majesty. But I am still in pain now and can't get up. Can you help me? The woman stretched lazily, squinted her eyes slightly, and raised the corners of her mouth slightly, revealing a little coquettish expression. Looking at the pitiful appearance of the woman, the man couldn't help but feel a little pity in his heart. He walked slowly to the bed, his footsteps so light that he could hardly hear the sound. The man carefully stretched out his hand and gently helped the woman up. His fingers were warm and powerful, and conveyed a sense of security to the woman through their clothes. The woman trembled slightly, but soon relaxed and enjoyed the man's care. The man's movements were extremely gentle, and every detail was handled just right. The woman seemed to like this feeling, too. She closed her eyes, raised her head slightly, and felt the man's breath and heartbeat. Her face was filled with a happy smile, like a blooming flower. I didn't expect that Hong Daban Hua also likes to be served. Lin Bai couldn't help teasing. There was a hint of teasing in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, with a bit of a smirk. Hong Yue, who was teased, did not feel a bit shy, but instead put her arms around Lin Bai's neck. Her movements were elegant and natural, as if she was showing Lin Bai her charm. Do you regret letting me be your girlfriend now? Hong Yue's voice revealed a hint of expectation, and her eyes were fixed on Lin Bai, as if she wanted to find the answer from his expression. Are you tempting me now? What do you think? Hong Yue's voice was a little teasing. You goblin. It was unknown how long it took before the two of them sat in the living room to enjoy the luxurious presidential breakfast of 88,888 that night. It's worthy of being a presidential suite. This is the best breakfast I've ever had. Hong Yue sighed while eating delicious food. Her face was filled with satisfaction and happiness, and she was obviously very satisfied with the breakfast. If you like it, we will have breakfast here in the future. Lin Bai looked at Hong Yue and said calmly. His tone was casual, but it revealed a kind of confidence and calmness. Hong Yue was so surprised that she almost spit out the food in her mouth after hearing this. She widened her eyes and looked at Lin Bai in disbelief. Isn't this bad? It's too expensive here. It's okay to come here occasionally. No matter how delicious the breakfast is, you will get tired of it if you eat it every day. Hong Yue shook her head quickly, trying to reject Lin Bai's proposal. I just said it casually, you don't have to take it seriously. Lin Bai couldn't help laughing when he saw Hong Yue's reaction. Hong Yue was relieved when she heard this. She was really afraid that Lin Bai would book this place with a wave of his hand. After all, this man transferred 100 million yesterday without blinking an eye. Thinking of this, Hong Yue couldn't help but sigh that the world of the rich is really unimaginable. By the way, I've thought about the disclosure carefully, and I'd better not disclose it for the time being. Hong Yue suddenly put down the cutlery in her hand and said seriously. Have you really thought about it? Lin Bai looked at Hong Ye and asked calmly. His eyes were deep and sharp, as if he had already guessed Hong Ye's thoughts. Hong Ye nodded gently and said firmly, "There are still too many people who were hung by me before, and many of them have prominent families and deep backgrounds. If our relationship is made public at this time, they will inevitably feel resentful and may even be unfavorable to you." At the end, her voice became low and serious, as if reminding Lin Bai something. Hearing Hong Ye's words, Lin Bai's mouth corners slightly raised, outlining a confident smile, and he responded calmly, "Do you think I look like someone who is afraid of them?" His eyes were firm and deep, revealing a fearless courage. Hong Ye was very surprised by Lin Bai's straightforward answer. It is no exaggeration to say that before Lin Bai bought the Tank 3000, Hong Ye did not take him seriously at all. Although Lin Bai is handsome, there are many handsomer boys in this university. However, after some contact, Hong Ye felt that Lin Bai was full of mystery, which made her more curious and interested in him. "But I don't want you to be hurt because of me." Hong Ye's voice was full of concern, and her eyes showed deep worry. Lin Bai was slightly shocked, and this sentence had a great impact on him. In his previous life, he worked like a cow and a horse for decades, but he never heard this sentence from Xiao Ran and Jing Wei, otherwise he would not hate them so much. How ridiculous it is to hear this sentence from the woman who used him. I said, "I have no objection to this matter. Since you don't want to make it public, then don't make it public. Thank you." After breakfast, Lin Bai drove his Tank 3000 and took Hong Ye back to Yicheng University. In order to avoid being discovered by acquaintances, the two separated near the school. Before leaving, Hong Ye gave Lin Bai a passionate kiss goodbye. After Lin Bai briefly savored the memory, he drove to the university gate. Fate is always wonderful. As soon as Lin Bai got off the car, he ran into Yicheng Shue passing by. Originally, Yicheng Shue was very curious about which rich kid came to the school to be cool, but who would have thought that the man she least wanted to see came down? "Hey, isn't this my sister-in-law? What a coincidence." Chapter 12 Yicheng Shue's warning. "How long are you going to follow me?" Yicheng Shue gritted her teeth, with angry light flashing in her eyes, staring fiercely at Lin Bai in front of her. Since she met this guy at the school gate, he has been sticking to her like a piece of oxhide candy, and she can't get rid of him no matter what. "Oh, sister-in-law, what you said is really hurtful. What do you mean I should follow you? I am just going to class normally." Could it be that the second young lady of the Yi family is not even allowed to walk on the same road with others? Lin Bai raised the corner of his mouth slightly, revealing a playful smile, looking at Yicheng Shue provocatively. Hearing this, Yicheng Shue's face suddenly became nervous. She quickly looked around and confirmed that no one noticed the two of them. Then she grabbed Lin Bai's hand and walked quickly to the pavilion on the side. "Second young lady Yi, what are you doing? You suddenly brought me to such a remote place. Are you planning to do something bad to me?" Lin Bai deliberately showed a horrified expression, but the smile in his eyes became stronger. "Bar. You are really shameless. Don't you look at what you look like? Would I be interested in someone like you?" Yicheng Shue hit back unceremoniously, with contempt on her face. "Also, I warn you, don't try to get close to me in school, we are not familiar with each other. Don't think that you can do whatever you want to me just because you have something on me. If you really push me to the limit, I guarantee that you will regret it in the end." After saying this, Yicheng Shue glared at Lin Bai fiercely again, and then left angrily. Looking at Yicheng Shue's back, Lin Bai's mouth curled up uncontrollably. "TSK TSK TSK, I want to see how you can make me regret it, my good sister-in-law." After being warned by Yicheng Shue, Lin Bai came to the classroom. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Hong Ye sitting in the front row, talking and laughing with his roommate. Lin Bai wanted to walk over as if nothing had happened, but he never thought that Hong Ye would greet him directly. "Good morning, Lin Bai." Lin Bai nodded calmly, but his heart was already surging. He knew that Hong Ye had a high psychological quality, but he didn't expect it to be so high. You know, a few hours ago, the two of them were still rolling in the sheets. After the episode ended, Lin Bai came to the three Zhu Qian brothers who had already exuded strange eyes. "Old Lin, I have asked Hong Da's class flower roommates, and they told me that Hong Da's class flower did not come back last night," Zhu Qian said with a sly smile. "Oh, really?" Lin Bai sat down calmly. Such a bland response also confused Zhu Qian, and Xiao Ran and Jing Wei, who were waiting to eat melons, were also surprised. Especially Xiao Ran, he remembered that when Lin Bai left yesterday, Hong Wei couldn't even walk. "Old Lin, didn't you have a home run yesterday?" Zhu Qian asked again. "What home run?" Lin Bai pretended to be stupid again. "No, didn't you go on a date with Hong Da's class flower yesterday? Ran also said that Hong Da's class flower fell drunk in your arms, and you two didn't do that." Zhu Qian said with a wretched face. "What are you talking about? I'm a gentleman. How could I take advantage of someone's misfortune?" Lin Bai pretended to be angry. "Why didn't you come back last night?" Zhu Qian frowned. "I wanted to come back, but she suddenly got drunk and refused to go back. I stayed with her outside for a few hours. The curfew time was over, so I had to get a room outside to make do for the night." "Make do? Nothing happened between you two?" "Of course not. Why don't I believe it at all?" "If you don't believe it, you can go and ask the class flower Hong and you'll know." Seeing Lin Bai so sure, Zhu Qian also breathed a sigh of relief. "Old Lin, you did the right thing. I think the class flower Hong has bad intentions towards you. You have to be careful of her and don't be fooled by her beauty." "Lin Bai, brother, I've been tricked, and I volunteered to be tricked." "I know, don't worry, I'll be careful." Lin Bai patted Zhu Qian on the shoulder and looked at Xiao Ran. "Brother Ran, how was your date with sister-in-law yesterday?" Xiao Ran shook his head helplessly. "It's hard to say." "Brother Ran, don't be too sad, sister-in-law didn't mean it. You just got together, there are still many days to come, and it will definitely get smoother in the future." Lin Bai pretended to comfort. "I hope so." After saying that, Xiao Ran set his eyes on Hong Wei in the front row. He always felt that Hong Wei seemed different today, but he couldn't tell. Could it be that Lao Lin had succeeded? It shouldn't be, he had no reason to hide it from them. "Forget it, don't think about it. Whether the two succeed or not, it has nothing to do with me. University courses are always boring. Playing with mobile phones and fishing, the morning course is over. Let's go and eat." If you are not active in eating, you have a problem with your thinking. The cafeteria of Yi University is quite large, with 5 floors in total, and hundreds of windows on each floor. The dining area is also very spacious. Even if tens of thousands of people dine here at the same time, it will not feel crowded. But this is a school after all. Whether you are a rich young master or respected professor, you need to queue up to eat here. And the task of queuing at this time falls on Zhu Qian and Lin Bai. The two of them rarely have their own choices. They help Jing Wei and Xiao Ran to queue up. What they eat basically determines what the two of them eat. Zhu Qian doesn't mind, anyway, he is not picky about food. The previous Lin Bai didn't care about these things, but the current Lin Bai is not the Lin Bai who was at the mercy of others in his previous life. You can let him get food, but you must be prepared to pay the price. System, is there any laxative that will not be detected? Reporting to the host can buy a super strong laxative. This medicine is colorless and tasteless. The user will suffer from diarrhea all day long and will not be detected. Then buy this. Ding, congratulations to the host for buying a super strong laxative, consuming 2000 revenge points. 2000. So expensive. Reporting to the host, you get what you pay for. I guarantee that the effect will satisfy you. Well, 2000 is 2000. Add the laxative to this window. After hearing the system's prompt, Lin Bai smiled with satisfaction. Since it was a frame-up, of course Xiao Ran couldn't be the only victim. He didn't want to be suspected so early. But in this way, those students queuing here will be miserable. But our old Lin will not be soft-hearted. Those who want to achieve great things must be ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame Xiao Ran. Who made him take a fancy to this window? Chapter 13 Teasing Yi Qingxue. Brother Ran, your fat intestines. After waiting in line for more than 10 minutes, Lin Bai finally placed the lunch with laxative in front of Xiao Ran. Didn't you buy it yourself? Xiao Ran asked puzzledly, looking at the only pork intestine rice in front of him. Lin Bai scratched his head in embarrassment and said, I forgot to top up my meal card. I only have enough money to buy one. Say it earlier next time and take my meal card. Seeing Xiao Ran generously taking out his meal card, Lin Bai almost burst out laughing. How hypocritical. But on the surface, he still smiled and took Xiao Ran's meal card. Holding Xiao Ran's meal card, Lin Bai joined the queue again. When Lin Bai came back again, the original team of 3 suddenly had one more person. Hong Yue. Hi, Lin Bai. Hong Yue waved her hand at Lin Bai with a smile. Why are you here? Lin Bai widened his eyes and looked at Hong Yue, who suddenly appeared in front of him with surprise. Hong Yue smiled slightly, revealing 2 cute dimples. I met Zhu Qian when I was getting food. My roommates happened to have gone back to the dormitory, so I shamelessly followed Zhu Qian here. As she spoke, she stuck out her tongue mischievously. Lin Bai turned to look at Zhu Qian, and saw a helpless smile on his face. His expression seemed to say, "Old Lin, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to bring her here, but I really couldn't refuse." Hong Yue blinked playfully and asked softly, "Student Lin Bai, you won't mind if I disturb you, right?" "Of course we don't mind. It's our honor to have dinner with the class beauty Hong, don't you think, Lao Ju?" After saying that, he did not forget to pat Zhu Qian's shoulder vigorously. Zhu Qian staggered and almost fell down. He quickly steadied himself and nodded repeatedly, saying, "Yes, yes, it's our honor." Hong Yue's joining not only surprised Lin Bai, but also shocked Xiao Ran and Jing Wei, who were standing by. They both knew very well that Hong Yue came here for Lin Bai. Although they were not interested in Hong Yue, all men wanted to save face. However, just as the two were daydreaming, a crisp voice suddenly interrupted their thoughts. "Xiao Ran." Hearing this familiar voice, Xiao Ran was surprised and delighted, as if every cell in his body was awakened. He immediately raised his head, eagerly looking for the source of the voice. After a while, he discovered Yiqingxue standing not far away, and an expression of uncontrollable joy appeared on his face. "Qingxue, why are you here?" Xiao Ran was so excited that he was a little incoherent, with surprise and confusion flashing in his eyes. "Of course we come to the cafeteria to eat, or else we come here to go shopping." Yiqingxue blinked mischievously, pretending to be angry, but the corners of her mouth rose unconsciously. "That's not what I meant. Didn't you say you were going home for dinner? I thought you weren't coming to the cafeteria." Xiao Ran waved his hands quickly, fearing that it would cause misunderstanding, and explained hastily. Yiqingxue had just returned from abroad and was not yet accustomed to the taste of domestic food, especially the food in the school cafeteria, so she basically chose to go home for lunch. Xiao Ran didn't think much about this. After all, most of the students at Yicheng University were locals from Yicheng and lived close to home, so it was very common for them to go home for dinner. "I won't eat at home anymore," Yiqingxue said calmly. "Did something happen at home?" Xiao Ran frowned and asked with concern. Yiqingxue shook her head slightly, a smile on her face. "It's nothing, I just feel tired of eating at home, and want to change the taste, so I plan to eat in the cafeteria for a while." Although Yiqingxue tried her best to hide her emotions, Xiao Ran was still keenly aware of the abnormality in her eyes. However, he did not continue to ask. "In that case, you can have lunch with us at noon from now on," Xiao Ran suggested with a smile. But I have already promised to have dinner with my roommate in the future." Yiqingxue looked apologetic. Xiao Ran, who was originally full of expectations, heard this answer, and the smile on his face disappeared instantly. "Puchi, har, I was just teasing you. I haven't told my roommates yet." At this moment, Yiqingxue suddenly burst into laughter. Xiao Ran's eyes suddenly lit up. "So, you can have lunch with us from now on. Let's see how you perform." Yiqingxue winked mischievously with a smile on her lips. The successive joining of the two beauties naturally attracted a lot of attention, but fortunately, most of the people present were experienced and were not surprised. Except Zhu Qian, who felt a little uncomfortable. "I was wondering why Xiao Ran rejected so many girls' confessions. It turns out he's already got someone." As soon as Yiqingxue sat down, Hong Yue couldn't help but teasing her. Xiao Ran smiled awkwardly. In terms of looks, Xiao Ran is definitely a school idol. Right after entering university, he already had many female fans and received love letters constantly. But he had never been in a relationship with anyone until he met Yiqingxue. It seemed as if everything was destined and they fell in love at first sight. After knowing each other for less than a month, Xiao Ran confessed his love to Yiqingxue with the encouragement of Lin Bai and the other two, and then the two got together. "Who are you?" Yiqingxue then noticed that Hong Yue looked familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen him. Hello, Hongya, Lin Bai and his classmates. Hello, Yi Qingxue, Xiao Ran's girlfriend. The topics between women always come out of nowhere. As soon as Hong Wei and Yi Qingxue introduced each other, the two girls started chatting and laughing. If you didn't know, you would think they were good friends. However, the two women hadn't talked for long before they were interrupted by a scream. Qingxue, what's wrong with you? That's right, it was Yi Qingxue who exclaimed. Yi Qingxue's face was flushed and her hands were pressed on the table, as if she was enduring something. I accidentally burned myself. Why are you so careless? Let me take a look. Xiao Ran said with a distressed look on his face. Yi Qingxue was just about to turn her head when suddenly a strong force hit her and she was forced to reject Xiao Ran. No, I'm fine now. Then I'll go buy you a bottle of water. After saying that, Xiao Ran got up and left. As soon as Xiao Ran left, Yi Qingxue glared at the culprit Lin Bai. She was chatting happily with Hong Wei when suddenly a foot stretched out towards her. She couldn't help but scream. She is not a fool. No one else except Lin Bai would dare to do this to her. Lin Bai seemed not to see anything. He was scrolling through his phone and eating at the same time. Where no one could see, he unscrupulously extended his claws towards Yi Qingxue. Soon, Yi Qingxue's face turned red and even her body began to tremble slightly. Finally, after enduring for a minute, Yi Qingxue couldn't bear it anymore. She suddenly stood up, slapped the table, and left without saying a word. What's wrong with sister-in-law? Zhu Qian looked confused. Maybe it's that time. Women, one day, will have that time. Lin Bai said meaningfully. Hong Wei on the side stared at Yi Qingxue's back, wondering what she was thinking. Chapter 14 Yi Rushuang. In the center of Yi City stands a towering building Yi Group. This magnificent building is not only a landmark of Yiqin, but also a symbol of the power and wealth of the Yi family. Above the clouds, there was a peerless woman standing quietly in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, her figure as graceful as a fairy in the clouds. If you look closely, you can find that this woman has a face very similar to Yi Qingxue, but the two have completely different temperaments. Her face was as cold as snow, and her eyes revealed a hint of sadness, as if the whole world had nothing to do with her. Just then, a gentle knock on the door broke the silence. The woman frowned slightly, seeming a little unhappy, but she quickly calmed herself down, walked to the desk and sat down, returning to her cold expression. Come in. The woman's voice was cold and firm. As the office door slowly opened, a pretty girl walked in. Her face is full of youthful vitality and her eyes are sparkling with intelligence. Qingxue. The woman looked at the girl in front of her with a hint of surprise in her tone. Sister. The girl ran up excitedly and hugged the woman. That's right, the girl in front of him was Yi Qingxue, and that peerless woman was her elder sister, the eldest daughter of the Yi family and the current president of the Yi Group, Yi Rushuang. Why are you here? Shouldn't you be at school at this time? Yi Rushuang caressed Yi Qingxue's head lovingly, her eyes full of love. I miss my sister. Yi Qingxue pouted and said coquettishly. You can't skip classes just because you miss me. You just returned to China not long ago, and you must leave a good impression on your teachers and classmates. Yi Rushuang shook her head helplessly and said earnestly. I don't care. I won't go back anyway. I want to stay with my sister. Yi Qingxue hugged Yi Rushuang's arm tightly and said in a firm tone. Seeing Yi Qingxue's resolute attitude, Yi Rushuang couldn't help but frown. The relationship between the two sisters has always been very good, and even when Yi Qingxue went abroad, the two often kept in touch. Especially during the period when Yi Qingxue had just returned to China, he stayed by her side every day, which made Yi Rushuang enjoy this family love very much. However, since Yi Qingxue transferred to Yiqin University, the two had fewer opportunities to meet. Now Yi Qingxue actually skipped class to come to see her, which made Yi Rushuang feel that something was wrong. Qingxue, did something happen to you at school? Yi Rushuang asked with concern, trying to understand her sister's true situation. Yi Qingxue was slightly shocked and said unnaturally, No, I just miss my sister. Although Yi Qingxue concealed it well, Yi Rushuang still noticed something unusual. Qingxue, I am your sister. You must remember that I will always stand by your side. Yi Rushuang said earnestly. Yi Qingxue stared at Yi Rushuang for a while, then bit her red lips and said, "Actually, it's because of that woman." Yi Rushuang frowned slightly. "Did you have a conflict with her again?" "I didn't start any trouble, she was the one who started it." "Sister, I want to move in with you. I really don't want to live at home anymore. Seeing that vicious woman every day makes me upset." Yi Qingxue hugged Yi Rushuang tightly and said coquettishly, "Qingxue, I also want to live with you, but you know that Dad will never agree to us doing this." Yi Rushuang sighed helplessly, with a painful expression on her face. "No, I just want to live with my sister." "I know you will definitely find a way, please, sister. Can you bear to see your lovely sister with a gloomy face every day?" A cunning light flashed in Yi Qingshue's eyes. "You stupid girl, you dare to threaten me." Yi Rushuang pretended to be angry and glared at Yi Qingxue. "I'm doing this for my sister's own good." Yi Qingxue stuck out her tongue playfully. "You have really become a bad person after spending all these years abroad." Yi Rushuang smiled and shook her head, but her eyes revealed a doting look. "So sister, have you agreed?" Yi Qingshue's eyes lit up and she asked excitedly. "Otherwise, someone has started to threaten his own sister." Yi Rushuang said unhappily. He, I know my sister is the best. But I'll be frank with you. I can only help you open your mouth. If Dad doesn't agree, you can't blame me." "I know, but I believe my sister will succeed." "You damn girl." After staying with Yi Rushuang for half an hour, Yi Qingxue was driven away by her ruthless sister. As soon as Yi Qingxue left, Yi Rushuang's secretary brought bad news. "Boss Yi, Master Lu is here." "Not see." At the same time, Yi Qingxue, who had just left Yi Rushuang, also came to the first floor. As soon as she walked out of the elevator, she met a young man holding a rose in his hand. The man was wearing a suit, a tie, and a pair of shiny leather shoes. It was obvious that he was not an ordinary person. Although he looked decent, Yi Qingxue had no interest in him at all and walked right past him. However, before Yi Qingxue had taken a few steps, she was stopped by the man behind her. "Etc. Is there something?" Yi Qingxue looked at the man in the suit with surprise. The man walked up to Yi Qingxue with a smile on his face. "You are Qingxue, right? Do you know me?" Yi Qingxue looked at the man in the suit with some surprise. The man in the suit smiled and said, "My name is Lu Yu, and I'm your sister's fiancé. I heard her talk about you." "So you are Lu Yu? Your sister has mentioned me to you?" Lu Yu said excitedly. "No." The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. "Are you here to find your sister?" Lu Yu asked again. "I have something else to do. I'm leaving now." Lu Yu never expected that Yi Qingxue would dislike him so much. The originally gentle face turned ferocious the moment Yi Qingxue turned around. "Bitch, your sister doesn't like me, and you look down on me too. Just wait for me. One day, I will make you kneel down before me and beg me to favor you." After leaving Yi Group, Yi Qingxue got on the car back to school. In fact, she came here today to ask Yi Rushuang for help, but not because of that woman, but because of Lin Bai. She thought that after threatening Lin Bai this morning, Lin Bai would know to restrain himself, but she didn't expect that he would become even more aggressive and tease her in front of so many people. She left angrily without even saying hello to Xiao Ran. After leaving school, she came to Yi Rushuang. She wanted to tell her everything, but when the words came to her lips, she couldn't say them. "Oh, what should I do?" Chapter 15 Warning Homya. Brother Ran, sister-in-law still hasn't replied to the message. Zhu Qian, who was playing games, suddenly turned around and asked Xiao Ran, who looked anxious. Xiao Ran shook his head helplessly, feeling very worried. When he came back after buying water, he found that Yi Qingxue was missing. Thinking that she was not feeling well and needed to rest, he sent her a few caring messages and then began to enjoy his favorite large intestine rice. However, until they finished their meal and returned to the dormitory, Yi Qingxue still hadn't replied to his message. Xiao Ran began to feel uneasy, because although Yi Qingxue would occasionally reply late in the past, this time it really took too long. Could something have happened? Xiao Ran couldn't help but feel worried. Just as he was about to dial Yi Qingxue's phone number, a familiar caller ID suddenly popped up on the phone screen. Xiao Ran was overjoyed and quickly pressed the answer button. "Hey, Qingxue." Sure enough, Yi Qingxue's gentle voice came from the other end of the phone. "I'm so sorry, Xiao Ran, my phone ran out of battery just now. I'm fine, don't worry. After hearing these words, Xiao Ran finally felt relieved. I'm glad you're okay, I thought. After the two chatted sweetly on the phone for a few minutes, Xiao Ran reluctantly hung up the phone. So, I said sister-in-law is fine. Zhu Qian, the wise man after the event, stood up again. Xiao Ran ignored Zhu Qian and looked around the dormitory and asked, where are Lao Lin and Lao Zheng? Brother Wei had something to do at home, so he went home after dinner. As for Lao Lin, he went out after returning to the dormitory and has not come back yet. I think he must have gone to see Hong Yue. Zhu Qian said mysteriously. Hong Ya. You didn't see the scene where the two of them were flirting with each other in the cafeteria. I can now be sure that class beauty Hong is definitely after Lao Lin's money. Zhu Qian said seriously. How could Xiao Ran not see it? If you didn't know, you would think they were a couple. No, I can't play games anymore. Lao Lin is too naive. I can't let him be ruined by a woman. Xiao Ran, At the same time, in a club classroom. Aren't you afraid of being discovered by others? Lin Bai asked Hong Yue, who was panting in his arms. What are you afraid of? This classroom is under my control, and I have the only key. No outsider can get in. Hong Yue proudly raised the key in her hand. I thought you were really not afraid, but it turns out you have been prepared for it for a long time. Lin Bai said with a sly smile. Do you like it? Hong Yue put her hand towards Lin Bai again. You devil, those rich young masters are not good enough to leave your delicious food uneaten. They can't wait to eat me up, but unfortunately I don't give them the chance. Hong Yue smiled. Who do you give a chance to then? You guess. Today I will teach them a lesson about you, the devil. Help, someone is going to domestic violence. Scream, but no one will come to save you even if you scream your throat out. Break the throat, break the throat. For a long time. What is your relationship with Xiao Ran's girlfriend Yi Qingxue? Hong Yue finally couldn't suppress her curiosity and asked. Did you see everything? Lin Bai answered calmly, as if he had expected her to ask this. Hong Yue was stunned for a moment when she heard this, a look of surprise appeared on her face, and she stared straight at Lin Bai. How do you know I saw you teasing Yi Qingxue with your feet? Lin Bai raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a confident smile, because I'm your man. Hong Yue was slightly stunned, a complex emotion flashed in her eyes, and then she turned her gaze to Lin Bai. Since you know this, aren't you afraid that I will tell Xiao Ran? Of course I'm afraid, so am I just trying to please you. Lin Bai pointed at the stains on the table with a smile, a hint of ridicule in his eyes. You rascal, can't you be serious? I'm serious with you. Xiao Ran is not only your classmate, but also your elder brother. You treat Xiao Ran like this. Aren't you worried that he will do something bad to you after he knows it? Hong Yue looked worried and looked at Lin Bai anxiously. Are you worried about me? Lin Bai asked with a smile. Hong Yue blushed. After all, I accepted your 100 million transfer, and I don't want to be worried when I sleep at night. Lin Bai smiled gently. Don't worry, as long as you don't tell anyone, Xiao Ran won't know. Hong Yue frowned. Why? Do you have any evidence against Yi Qingxue? You guess. Hong Yue's face was full of black lines. How could he guess this? By the way, do you have classes in the afternoon? Lin Bai asked suddenly. There's a dance class. Can you skip class? Come out with me this afternoon. Can I refuse? Cannot. Then what do you say, a domineering and stingy man? Hong Yue, draw a circle to curse you. By the way, have you and Yi Qingxue had sex? Hong Yue couldn't help but ask as soon as she got on Lin Bai's tank 3000. Lin Bai turned around and looked at Hong Yue seriously. Hong Ya, I know you are very curious about the things between me and Yi Qingxue, but there are some things I really can't tell you. Knowing too much will not do you any good. Hong Yue is a country girl, but she is smart enough to get to where she is today. I have said so much to her. As long as Hong Yue is not crazy, she will not do anything stupid. I understand. I was presumptuous. Hong Yue still felt a little disappointed, but she believed that Lin Bai would not harm her. Although there are some things I can't tell you, you can have more contact with Yi Qingxue. This will definitely be good for you. Lin Bai suddenly said meaningfully. The clever Hong Ye immediately grasped the key point: the benefits. Does Yi Qingxue have a special identity? Last name Yi? Could she be from the Yi family? I wonder how Lin Bai would feel if he knew that his words directly exposed Yi Qingxue's identity. On the other side, in the toilet filled with poisonous gas, Xiao Ran sat on the toilet with a look of despair. Half an hour ago, he suddenly felt uncomfortable in his stomach and was forced to rush to the toilet even though he originally wanted to play games. Then it was like a torrent rushing down, rushing thousands of miles. Thinking it was just normal diarrhea, Xiao Ran dealt with it hastily and returned to his seat. But as soon as he sat down, the familiar feeling came again, and he could only pick up the paper and run to the toilet again. In just half an hour, he ran back and forth 5-6 times. Such a high frequency also shocked Zhu Qian. Brother Ran, are you okay? Why don't we go to the hospital? No, it's okay. I must have eaten something unclean. Xiao Ran said weakly. Are you still going to class? Lao Lin and Wei Ji just sent me a message saying that they won't be going to class this afternoon. If you're not going either, then I won't go either. Go, Qingxue is still waiting for me, I can't let her go. Before he finished speaking, a loud noise was heard. Even through their door, one could feel the awkwardness between the two of them. After a long while, Zhu Qian finally spoke weakly. Brother Na Ran, I'm going to the classroom first. As soon as Zhu Qian left, Xiao Ran started wailing. Who cleaned the large intestine today? Chapter 16 Yu Yao. You don't want to buy a house, do you? Outside the sales center, Hong Ye looked at Lin Bai in astonishment, her eyes full of disbelief and surprise. Lin Bai smiled softly. Although it's exciting in the classroom, I don't want to be a celebrity in the school. After saying this, Lin Bai didn't explain any more and walked directly into the sales center, leaving Hong Ye standing there in a daze. After a long time, Hong Ye came back to her senses, stamped her feet, and followed him into the sales center. As you enter the sales center, an atmosphere of luxury hits you. The decoration of the entire space is so exquisite that it feels as if you are in a magnificent palace, resplendent and dazzling. In the center are several exquisite stands, on which beautiful house models are displayed. Although it is not the weekend, there are still quite a few people in their hall. All of these people are wealthy, because anyone who can buy a house here must have a net worth of at least 100 million. Perhaps because Lin Bai looked too young, he did not receive the same reception as other home buyers. But he was not angry. After all, he did not look like a rich man, so he just went on the tour alone. Not long after, a plump female sales manager came up to Lin Bai. Hello, sir, I am Yu Yao from the sales department. What can I do for you? Her voice was like a trickle of water, pleasant to the ears and refreshing. Lin Bai raised his head slightly and saw a peerless face that was in no way inferior to Yi Qingxue's. Her eyes are as charming as plum blossoms, her small nose is straight and delicate, her skin is fair with a slight red, her cherry lips are slightly upturned, and the slightly tight suit perfectly highlights her proud cleavage. A shrewd gleam flashed across Lin Bai's eyes. I want to buy a house, can you recommend one to me? Yu Yao smiled slightly. Of course, what type of house do you want to buy? What is your budget? Do you want a school district house or a commercial house? A few minutes later, Hong Ye finally arrived. Perhaps influenced by Lin Bai, she got lost after entering the door and took some effort to find their hall. When she saw Lin Bai chatting and laughing with a pretty female sales manager, she suddenly felt upset. I was wondering why you suddenly wanted to buy a house. It turns out you have other intentions. Hong Ye stared at Yu Yao jealously. What do you mean by the real purpose is not to drink? Sister Yu and I just met. Lin Bai gave Hong Ye a cold look. Then he looked at Yu Yao with an apologetic look on his face. Sister Yu, don't mind it, my girlfriend likes to be jealous, and she is like this to everyone. No, it's okay. Yu Yao shook her head, but a blush inexplicably appeared on her delicate face. TSK, I don't believe it. Hong Ye muttered softly. She believed that Lin Bai and Yu Yao met for the first time, but she absolutely did not believe that Lin Bai was not interested in Yu Yao. With this figure and this beauty, she, as a woman, would be jealous. How could a man who even dared to touch Yi Qingxue let go of such a peerless beauty? Don't ask her how she knew that, just tell her it's a woman's sixth sense. What kind of house do you plan to buy? Houses here are not cheap. After complaining, Hong Ye finally returned to the topic. What do you think we should buy for our first home? We? Hong Ye looked surprised. What? Do you want me to stay alone in the empty room? Lin Bai said with a wicked smile. Hong Ye's pretty face turned red, and she instantly understood what Lin Bai was thinking. It was indeed risky to stay in school, and it would be more convenient to have her own house. Yu Yao, who was chatting nearby, also had a hint of envy in his eyes. After discussion between Lin Bai and Hong Ye, they finally decided to buy a small detached Western-style house near Yicheng University. Actually, Lin Bai wanted to buy a villa, but the locations of villas are relatively remote, and it takes an hour or two to drive there, which is really inconvenient. Sister Yu, can you take us to see the existing house now? Sure. Then I'll trouble you, Sister Yu. No trouble, no trouble. On the other side, in the classroom where students usually doze off, Zhu Qian sat alone in the last row of the classroom, looking so lonely. As the bell rings, it means the class is over. Zhu Qian picked up the book and was about to slip away, but the next second a figure appeared in front of him. Big, sister-in-law. The person who came was Yicheng Xue. Where is Xiao Ran? Why didn't he come to class? Yicheng Xue said, looking at the empty seat next to Zhu Qian. Brother Ran, he feels a little uncomfortable. Zhu Qian stammered. Are you not feeling well? Weren't you fine when you called? Yicheng Xue frowned slightly. It got bad after I made the phone call. I think I had a stomachache. You have a stomachache? Zhu Qian was just about to explain when a kind classmate sitting in the front row interrupted. Did you eat the erlu rice bowl at noon? How do you know that Brother Ran had erlu rice bowl for lunch? Zhu Qian looked surprised. Didn't you read the school forum? It's been a big deal. Dozens of people have been infected. I heard that people who had the erlu rice bowl at noon started having diarrhea an hour ago and their butts never left the toilet. Some of the serious cases have even been sent to the hospital. The kind-hearted classmate opened his cell phone as he spoke, then handed it to Zhu Qian and Yicheng Xue. Seeing the unanimous wailing on the forum, both of their faces changed drastically. If one person gets infected, it may be an accident, but if so many people get infected, it cannot be an accident. Oh no, something's going to happen to Brother Ran. Sister-in-law, I won't talk to you anymore. I have to go back to see Brother Ran first. After saying this, Zhu Qian disappeared in a flash, leaving Yicheng Xue standing there in a daze. She was a rich girl and had never seen such a smelly scene. She didn't even dare to think about it, but now it was happening to her boyfriend. For a moment, she didn't know whether she should feel sorry for Xiao Ran or not. At the same time, in the dormitory, Xiao Ran sat on the toilet with a look of despair on his face. He had never left the toilet since Zhu Qian left. He felt like he had cleared out all the shit from his life today. But even so, the feeling still comes suddenly. After being tortured for so long, his lower body had long lost its intuition. He wanted to call for help, but he didn't have a cell phone with him. He dared not move his butt and wanted to die. Help, someone save me. Chapter 17 Hong Ye's Jealousy. Ding, it is detected that Xiao Ran's hatred value is rising, and the current hatred value is 6. The sudden system prompt made Lin Bai's eyes light up. It goes without saying that the laxative he administered had taken effect. Unexpectedly, it directly increased the hatred value by 3 points. The 2,000 yuan was indeed worth it. It's just a pity that I didn't get to see Xiao Ran's despair with my own eyes. But I, Lin Bai, am not someone who will suffer losses. Lin Bai looked at Yu Yao in front of him, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Keep looking. Your eyeballs are about to pop out. Jealous Hong Ye decisively interrupted someone's imagination. I'm clearly touring the house, okay? Lin Bai said seriously. Har har, I don't believe you. Mr. Lin, Ms. Hong, this is the small Western-style building that is for sale. Let me show you around. Thank you for your help. The house they are visiting is located on Yangren Street, 3 kilometers away from Yicheng University. It has a beautiful environment and convenient transportation. Walking into the yard, what comes into view is a 3-story Western-style building with an independent courtyard and a small swimming pool, covering an area of more than 200 square meters. Although the exterior looks a bit old, the interior is brand new and the decoration style is simple yet elegant. There are many old objects on display in the house, such as antique furniture, exquisite porcelain, etc., which make people feel as if they have traveled back to the past. It took the two of them more than half an hour just to visit this small Western-style building. Finally, Yu Yao looked at the two with a smile and asked, "Mr. Lin, Ms. Hong, what do you think of this small Western-style building? Does it suit your taste?" Lin Bai nodded with satisfaction and said, "The house is indeed nice. Both the layout and the decoration are very much to my liking. I just don't know the price." Yu Yao smiled and replied, "This small Western-style building was also entrusted to us not long ago. The owner's expected price is about 120 million. Hearing this number, Hong Wei couldn't help but take a breath and said in surprise, "Hiss. So expensive." She originally thought that such a small villa would cost at most tens of millions, but she didn't expect it to cost more than that. In comparison, Lin Bai seemed much calmer. After all, he has lived 2 lives and has seen much more of the world than Hong Yao. There are many valuable antiques in this small Western-style building. If all of them were sold, the value would be at least tens of millions. Moreover, the houses in this area are not cheap. 120 million is a reasonable price for a small Western-style building of more than 200 square meters. But in business, there has to be a give and take. It's a bit expensive. Lin Bai said with regret. The price of 120 million is indeed very high, but Mr. Lin and Miss Hong have seen it before. There are many antiques and old items in the small Western-style building. These things are very valuable. If you take them all into account, 120 million is definitely worth it to buy this place. Yu Yao said patiently. "Sister Yu, I really like this place, but 120 million is still too expensive. How about this, you talk to the owner, I am willing to pay 110 million for it." "Really?" After hearing Lin Bai's price, Yu Yao became visibly excited, with surprise and excitement flashing in his eyes. Lin Bai smiled slightly and nodded, "Yes, 110 million. But I have a request. I hope to complete the transfer procedures today." "Okay, Mr. Lin, Ms. Hong, please wait a moment, I will contact the landlord immediately." Yu Yao said quickly, then walked quickly to the corner with his mobile phone and began to communicate with the landlord. Hong Wei looked at Lin Bai and couldn't help asking, "Is 110 million too much?" There was a hint of worry in her eyes. Lin Bai raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a sly smile. "Why? Are you heartbroken?" Hong Wei glared at him and replied unhappily, "What do you think? Although there are many valuable antiques in the house, it is not easy to turn them into cash, otherwise the owner would not have kept these things." Hong Wei understood this principle, so how could Lin Bai not understand it? "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. It's definitely worth it to buy this small Western-style building for 110 million. Lin Bai looked at Yu Yao in the distance, a shrewd gleam in his eyes. "It's up to you. It's not my money anyway." Hong Wei shrugged and said nothing more. A few minutes later, Yu Yao came to Lin Bai and the others with a happy look on his face. "Mr. Lin, Ms. Hong, the owner is willing to accept your offer of 110 million. Then let's just go through the process. I want to move in today." "No problem, please follow me." More than an hour later, Hong Wei had a small red notebook in her hand. Looking at the small notebook in her hand, Hong Wei felt indescribably excited, as if this small notebook meant something special to her. Lin Bai did not notice Hong Wei's abnormality, but instead stared at Yu Yao, who was also extremely excited. "Thank you so much today, Sister Yu. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have been able to buy such a nice house." Yu Yao waved his hands quickly. No, I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for trusting me. This is the first time I have completed such a large order. As the salesperson of the small Western-style building worth 110 million yuan, she can get a 3% commission, which is 3.3 million yuan. After deducting some taxes and miscellaneous items, she will get at least 2.5 million yuan. It's really like not opening a business, but once it opens it can make a living for 3 years. Lin Bai smiled softly. "Anyway, thank you very much, Sister Yu. By the way, Sister Yu, does the house have after-sales service?" Lin Bai suddenly asked. "Yes, if there are any problems with the house later, we will send someone to help you deal with it for free. Mr. Lin, you don't need to worry about this. Yu Yao said slowly. If that's the case, can I add Sister Yu on WeChat? I'm a shy person and don't like to contact strangers. Yu Yao was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile. Of course, if Mr. Lin doesn't want to contact other people, just tell me directly. After adding Yu Yao's WeChat as he wished, Lin Bai took Hong Yue away. As soon as he got in the car, Lin Bai smelled a strong smell of vinegar. This is your ultimate goal, right? What's the purpose? Lin Bai pretended to be stupid. I spent 110 million to buy a small Western-style building just to add someone's WeChat. Let me guess, next someone will use the excuse that there is a problem with the house and contact that person. Then, when the moon is dark and the wind is strong, the fire is ignited and someone succeeds. Hong Yue said jokingly. I didn't expect that the class beauty Hong is so imaginative. Lin Bai said with a smile. Just keep pretending. I thought I found a good man, but he turned out to be a playboy. So you're jealous? How is that possible? I won't be jealous of you. After I've used you, I'll dump you and leave you to starve. TSK, you are still so ruthless. Chapter 18 Yu Yao Niu Wu. Huh? That Yu Yao is already 40 years old. Are you kidding me? Inside the food stall, Hong Yue widened her eyes and looked at Lin Bai in shock. Do you think I have any need to lie to you? Lin Bai raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a faint smile. How is that possible? She looks so young, probably only 30 at most. Hong Yue shook her head, somewhat unable to accept this fact. Lin Bai did not explain too much, but continued to enjoy the food in his hand. He ate a big kidney one bite at a time. After a while, his mouth was full of oil. Sure enough, to replenish physical strength, you still have to rely on kidneys. How do you know her age? Hong Yue asked again when she saw that Lin Bai did not answer. I saw her information when I signed the contract today. Lin Bai said casually. Har har, you are very observant. Hong Yue sneered with a hint of sarcasm in her tone. Of course not. This is a deal worth hundreds of millions after all. How can we not take it seriously? Don't you think so? Lin Bai shrugged and said as a matter of course. I think you're still harboring evil intentions. Hong Yue glared at Lin Bai unhappily. Look at what you said. Am I that hungry? Besides, even if I want to, people may not agree. I can't do anything illegal or criminal. Okay, you finally admitted it. I knew you had feelings for her, you old fool. What's there to be afraid of admitting? It's normal to like beautiful women, just like I like you. Lin Bai didn't care. Don't think you can fool me by saying that. I won't be fooled by you. Okay, stop thinking about it and eat quickly. We still have to do some work after eating. Lin Bai shook the big fat kidney in his hand and smiled wickedly. Rogue. The other side. After receiving Lin Bai and Hong Yue, Yu Yao's work for the day was also finished. I sold a small villa worth 110 million yuan and earned a commission of 2.5 million yuan, so of course I had to celebrate. After strolling around the vegetable market, Yu Yao went home carrying a few bags of vegetables. The setting sun falls on the old Yushan community, an old urban area full of life. Most of the residents here are relocated from rural areas. Xiao Yu, are you off work? The white-haired old man greeted Yu Yao, who returned with a full load with a smile. It's time to get off work, Uncle Fu. Yu Yao responded to the old man with a smile. Hey, Yaoer, why did you buy so many vegetables today? Is Xiao Ran coming back? An aunt over 50 came forward and asked. There are too many classes at school, and Xiao Ran can't get back for the time being. There was a hint of loss in Yu Yao's voice. Why did you buy so many vegetables? The order was placed today, so I wanted to celebrate by myself. Yu Yao showed a happy smile on his face. Open an order. The house is sold. The old lady's scream was quite loud, attracting people around to gather around. Since they are neighbors, everyone is familiar with each other, and they have long been aware of the fact that Yu Yao works in the sales center. What kind of house are you selling? I heard that houses in the city center cost tens of thousands. That house must be worth several million. How much commission do I get? Looking at the old men and women talking in front of him, Yu Yao couldn't help but frown. If people knew that she sold a villa worth 110 million yuan, it would cause an uproar. But she is not a fool and knows that wealth should not be shown off. After casually saying a few words, Yu Yao left with his things. A middle-aged man wearing slippers and with a scruffy beard looked at Yu Yao's back, wondering what he was thinking. Although it is an old town, all the necessary facilities are available here. Yu Yao took the old elevator and soon arrived at his doorstep. The rusty iron door is covered with advertisements everywhere, and the words 1201 can be vaguely seen at the top of the door. After tearing off a few new advertisements, Yu Yao returned home. The house is not very big, about 80 square meters, with 2 bedrooms and a living room. The layout of the room is also relatively simple, but it has all the necessary furniture, but it looks a bit old. There are sofas that are almost white from washing, tables and chairs full of scratches, some old refrigerators and TVs, and award certificates covering the walls, etc. Although it looks old and outdated, the house is exceptionally clean, the air is exceptionally fresh, and you can even smell a faint fragrance. After putting the purchased vegetables on the table, Yu Yao walked into her room. After a while, she changed into a looser set of clothes. Although the suit is nice, it is too tight and it will hurt your body if you wear it for a long time. Sitting on a small stool, she started to clean up. Half an hour later, a relatively sumptuous dinner was placed in front of Yu Yao. She chose a suitable angle, took a photo, and then sent it to the person marked as her son on her phone. After doing all this, Yu Yao brought out the white wine she had treasured for a long time. Take out the wine glass and fill it up. Just as Yu Yao was preparing to start his own celebration banquet, there was a sudden knock on the heavy iron door, followed by a familiar greeting. "Yao, are you home? I'm Niu Wu." They were all neighbors, so Yu Yao naturally couldn't pretend not to hear it, not to mention that Niu Wu had helped her a lot. When I opened the door, I saw a middle-aged man wearing slippers, with a full beard and even a bit of baldness. "Brother Niu, why are you here?" Niu Wu raised the 2 bottles of good wine in his hand and smiled. "Didn't I just hear that you opened an order? I thought about coming over to celebrate with you." After saying that, Niu Wu walked straight in without waiting for Yu Yao to speak. Yu Yao had no choice but to close the door. "Oh, Yao, you cooked so many dishes. We're in for a treat today." Niu Wu's eyes lit up. "Brother Niu, please sit down first. I'll get you some dishes and chopsticks." "Oh, okay." Putting down the wine in his hand, Niu Wu skillfully opened the wine cabinet beside him and took out the wine glass. When Yu Yao came back, Niu Wu had already started drinking. Yu Yao remained calm about this. "Come on, Yao, let's have a drink together to celebrate your opening order." "Thanks." The two of them started drinking and chatting, like old friends. After an unknown amount of time, the 2 bottles of wine that Niu Wu brought were empty, and the dishes on the table were all cleared. "Brother Niu, let's stop here today," Yu Yao said to Niu Wu with red cheeks. Niu Wu looked at Yu Yao deeply, then staggered away. Only after the door was closed did Yu Yao sigh. Chapter 19, Inviting Sister-in-Law to Watch the Moon. Yicheng University Hospital. Since the school hospital was established, it has received only dozens of injured patients every day, and the peak number has never exceeded 50. However, today it broke history. Starting from 2 p.m., the school hospital received continuous calls, and by 8 p.m., they had received more than 200 students. If they were normal patients, it would be fine, but the symptoms of these 200 students were truly rare. They all had diarrhea and no medicine worked. Moreover, the diarrhea was uncontrollable, and some people had diarrhea uncontrollably on their way to the ward. After the efforts of more than 200 people, the school hospital, which was originally filled with the smell of disinfectant, has completely become a hospital with a unique smell. Because of the continuous occurrence of diarrhea, but the school hospital did not have enough toilets, and these people also needed to be treated, so an old professor with many years of clinical experience came up with an ingenious way combining the toilet and the bed. It is naturally impossible to install a toilet. The hospital uses the old-fashioned manual toilet, which only requires staff to replace it regularly. The idea was indeed good, but they still underestimated the power of the laxative they bought for 2,000 revenge points. The school hospital had no choice but to transfer doctors and nurses from other hospitals, and even many medical students joined in. For a time, the school hospital was overcrowded. There were wailing sounds everywhere and the screams of nurses. In a ward at the corner of the 4th floor of the school hospital, Xiao Ran sat on a specially designed toilet with a look of despair. He no longer has the glory of being the school hunk he once was. He looks much older and seems like he will fall down if touched. A few hours ago, he was in the dormitory bathroom, shouting to the heavens and the earth, but no one answered his calls. Fortunately, Zhu Qian came back at the critical moment. With Zhu Qian's help, he endured the pain and burden all the way and finally arrived at the school hospital. He thought that he could solve this damn diarrhea problem by coming to the school hospital, but he saw nothing except being placed on this weird toilet bed and facing several patients who had the same disease as him. Fortunately, none of these patients knew him, otherwise he would have really wanted to commit suicide. Outside the school hospital, Zhu Qian ran out to buy a mask because he couldn't stand the smell inside the hospital. Not long after buying the masks, he ran into Yi Qingxue, who came to visit Xiao Ran. "How is Xiao Ran?" Yi Qingxue asked anxiously. "I guess today is going to be a tough day." Zhu Qian smiled bitterly. "What's the meaning?" Then Zhu Qian told Yi Qingxue about the current situation of the school hospital and the fact that diarrhea could not be cured. After Yi Qingxue heard this, her expression was also extremely wonderful. Originally, she wanted to visit Xiao Ran, but as she had had misophobia since childhood, how could she dare to enter a den of shit? But Xiao Ran is her boyfriend, and now he is suffering. How can she just sit back and watch? Perhaps Zhu Qian saw Yi Qingxue's embarrassment, so he took the initiative to say, "Sister-in-law, I'll take care of Brother Ran, you can go back first." Isn't this a bit bad? After all, I am his girlfriend. Yi Qingxue smiled bitterly. "I believe Brother Ran can understand. He probably doesn't want you to see him like that. But can you do it alone?" "I've already called Lao Lin, he should be here soon." "Lin Bai." Yi Qingxue frowned. "Yes, with Lao Lin and I here, everything will be fine, don't worry, sister-in-law." "Yi Qingxue, it's because of Lin Bai that I feel uneasy." However, before she could speak, Zhu Qian waved to her and slipped away. Looking at Zhu Qian's departing back, Yi Qingxue sighed deeply, then turned and left. However, she had only taken a few steps absent-mindedly when she bumped into a broad chest. "Oh, sorry, I'm sorry." Yi Qingxue quickly bowed her head and apologized. The next second, a familiar teasing voice came to my ears. I didn't expect that the second young lady of the Yi family would actually apologize. I've never seen anything like this before. Yi Qingxue was slightly startled. When she looked up, the person in front of her was none other than Lin Bai. "Lin Bai, why is it you? Why can't it be me? Brother Ran is in the hospital. As a brother, I have to care for him, right? Don't you think so, my dear sister-in-law?" Lin Bai gave a wicked smile. Yi Qingxue seemed to have thought of something, and a barely noticeable blush appeared on her face. "You'd better go and take care of Xiao Ran. If you do anything to him, I will never let you go." After saying these harsh words, Yi Qingxue glared at Lin Bai fiercely, then walked around Lin Bai and was about to leave. After finally meeting each other, how could Lin Bai let Yi Qingxue leave so easily? "Sister-in-law, are you just leaving like that? Aren't you curious about why Brother Ran suddenly started having diarrhea?" Hearing this, Yi Qingxue's body froze instantly, and her foot, which had been raised, stopped in mid-air. She slowly turned around, staring at Lin Bai with shock and disbelief on her face, and asked in a trembling voice, "Did you do this?" Lin Bai raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a sly smile, and asked back, "What do you think, sister-in-law?" Yi Qingxue's eyes widened, her mind in a mess. She could never have imagined that the culprit who caused the heavy casualties in the school hospital was Lin Bai. She murmured to herself, "It's really you. How is it possible? Didn't Zhu Qian say that no drug ingredients were detected in the food? How did you do it?" Lin Bai chuckled and shook his head, saying, "Sister-in-law is so smart, why not try to guess?" Yi Qingxue clenched his fists tightly, with anger flashing in his eyes. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down, but her voice was still trembling. "I guess since it was you who did it, you must have the antidote, give it to me quickly." As she said that, she suddenly took a step forward, grabbed Lin Bai's collar tightly, and shouted loudly. Lin Bai smiled calmly and said jokingly, "Sister-in-law, if you ask for help like this, the antidote will be gone." Yi Qingxue was startled and quickly let go of her hand with an unwilling expression on her face. She gritted her teeth, glared at Lin Bai fiercely, and then said helplessly, "Tell me, what do you want me to do in exchange for giving you the antidote?" Lin Bai smiled slightly, looked up at the bright moon in the sky, and said softly, "The moon is very round tonight. I want to invite my sister-in-law to the rooftop to enjoy the moon. I wonder if my sister-in-law is interested." Yi Qingxue was slightly stunned. How could she not know what moon watching meant? "As long as I watch the moon with you, will you give me the antidote?" "Of course, I am a gentleman, always honest and trustworthy. Others may not know, but doesn't my sister-in-law know it?" "Stop talking nonsense and lead the way." Chapter 20 Strange Lin Bai. The moonlight tonight is exceptionally beautiful, like a flawless white jade plate hanging in the air, casting a cool glow. The moonlight covers the earth like a veil, bringing a peaceful and mysterious atmosphere to the whole world. Under this beautiful moonlight, the rooftop of a teaching building of Yicheng University appears particularly quiet and peaceful. However, in an inconspicuous corner, two blurry figures were looming. They seemed to be talking, but the sound was so faint that only intermittent whispers could be heard. As time went by, the two figures gradually became clearer. It turned out to be a young couple, both of whom had rosy faces, as if they had just come out of a sauna. The difference is that the man's face is full of pride and satisfaction, while the woman's eyes are full of shame and resentment. "Can you give me the antidote now?" Yi Qingxue stared at the man in front of her with cold eyes. "The antidote is not in my hands." Lin Bai replied calmly. "What, it's not in your hands?" Yi Qingxue widened her eyes and shouted in disbelief. "So you are teasing me, right?" She clenched her teeth and looked at Lin Bai viciously. "I would never play tricks on anyone else but you. Don't you know how much I love you?" Lin Bai suddenly became affectionate and slowly extended his hand towards Yi Qingxue. However, before his hand touched Yi Qingxue, he was ruthlessly slapped away by her. "Hand the antidote to me quickly, otherwise I promise you will regret everything you did today." Yi Qingxue's voice was full of threats and anger. "Are you really going to do this to me? I love you so much." Lin Bai frowned, seeming disappointed and sad about Yi Qingxue's behavior. "You love me so much. First you drugged me, then you did that kind of thing to me, and you even took videos and threatened me. Do you think I will believe your lies?" Yi Qingxue sneered, her eyes full of ridicule and disdain. "My methods are indeed a bit extreme, but I am also afraid of losing you. If you could treat me the same way you treat Xiao Ran, or even just look at me a few more times, how could I do this?" Lin Bai said in a low voice. "You're dreaming. Even if all the men in the world died, I would never fall in love with a beast like you." Yi Qingxue hit back bluntly, her eyes filled with anger and contempt. System, check Yi Qingxue's hatred value. Ding, Yi Qingxue's hatred value is of course 70. It's already level 70. Looks like I'll be able to get the second level revenge pack soon. Before that, we need to add more fuel to the fire. I understand. In that case, you can go. After Lin Bai said this, he turned around and no longer looked at Yi Qingxue. However, at the moment he turned around, Yi Qingxue happened to catch the disappointment and heartache that flashed across his eyes. Although it was only a moment, their complex emotions still touched Yi Qingxue's heartstrings. She stared at Lin Bai's back in silence for a moment, then slowly spoke. "I'll only give you one night. If Xiao Ran is not well tomorrow, I will make you pay the price, even if it means my reputation is ruined." After saying that, Yi Qingxue left the rooftop without looking back. After a long while, Lin Bai finally let out a long sigh. "Your acting skills are getting better and better. System, remove the effect of the super powerful laxative." Reporting to their host, it will cost 500 revenge points to remove the system item effect. Please confirm whether to remove it. 500 is acceptable. Let's cancel it. After all, I am a man of my words. If possible, he naturally wanted Xiao Ran to sit on the toilet all the time, but this was simply unrealistic. He underestimated the power of the laxative. According to Zhu Qian's letter, some people in the school hospital have fallen into a coma and many are bleeding. If this continues, someone might really die. Although he wanted to kill Xiao Ran, he didn't want Xiao Ran to die so comfortably. "Xiao Ran, thank you." Ding. Successfully consumed 500 revenge points, removing the effects of the super powerful laxative. As the system prompt sounded, the school hospital, which was filled with cries of grief, suddenly became quiet. "Hey, my stomach feels better. It doesn't hurt anymore." "Me too, it really doesn't hurt anymore. Woohoo, it's finally over." I can't feel my butt anymore. I'm finally alive. I'll never eat rice bowls again. The students who survived cried with joy. The doctors and nurses standing by were also completely stunned. What's going on? Everything was healed at the same time, just like I had set an alarm. Is this scientific? Obviously not. Zhu Qian, who was changing the toilet for Xiao Ran in the corridor, heard the news and immediately ran to Xiao Ran's ward. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Xiao Ran with tears streaming down his face. Lao Zhu, I'm alive. 10 minutes later, Zhu Qian pushed Xiao Ran, who was sitting in a wheelchair, out of the school hospital, which was still filled with the smell of shit. As soon as the two walked out of the school hospital, two figures came towards them. The people who came were Lin Bai and Yi Qingxue. After leaving the rooftop, Yi Qingxue originally planned to go back, but as soon as she arrived at the school gate, she received Zhu Qian's message, so she rushed over in a hurry. I happened to meet Lin Bai, who was also rushing over. I don't know if it was because of the unpleasant incident on the rooftop, but this time the two of them had a rare tacit understanding and neither of them approached the other. Seeing Yi Qingxue about to approach, Xiao Ran quickly raised his hand to stop her. Qingxue, don't come over here. Yi Qingxue frowned slightly. Xiao Ran, I don't mind. But I mind, can you please not come over? Xiao Ran said with a pleading tone. Today was undoubtedly a hopeless day for him, and nothing could heal him better than the comfort of his girlfriend. But now he is scarred and he really doesn't want to tarnish Yi Qingxue, who is as pure as a fairy in his heart. Okay then. Yi Qingxue nodded helplessly, and there was obviously a bit more heartache in her eyes when she looked at Xiao Ran. In her memory, Xiao Ran looked so sunny and confident, but now he looked like a dying old man. Thank you, Lao Zhu, please take me back. Zhu Qian nodded at Yi Qingxue, then pushed Xiao Ran around Yi Qingxue and left. Lin Bai originally planned to leave with the two of them, but unexpectedly, as soon as he took a step, Yi Qingxue grabbed his arm forcefully and pulled him aside. Don't think that I will be grateful to you just because you have detoxified me. I hope this is the first and last time. If you dare to play any tricks on Xiao Ran again, I will never let you go, even if it means a fight to the death. Yi Qingxue issued a warning again, her tone full of determination and firmness. However, in response to Yi Qingxue's threat, Lin Bai did not show the panic that one might imagine, and he did not even reveal a trace of disdain. On the contrary, his face always maintained an extraordinary calmness, as if nothing in the world could affect him. This kind of calmness made Yi Qingxue feel a little scared. Are you finished? Lin Bai asked softly, with a hint of indifference in his voice. I'm done. I'm done. Then I'll leave. Lin Bai said lightly, then turned and left. It was not until Lin Bai's figure completely disappeared from her sight that Yi Qingxue came back to her senses as if she had just woken up from a dream. What on earth is this guy playing at? Chapter 21. Yi Qingxue is moving out of the Yi family. Not sure if it was because of Xiao Ran's accident or because of Lin Bai's weird attitude, but Yi Qingxue had a complicated expression on her face on the way home. She had a myriad of thoughts in her mind, but they were hard to put into words. The figures of Xiao Ran and Lin Bai kept appearing in her mind, making her feel inexplicably anxious. This feeling stayed with her until she reached the door of her home. She took a deep breath, tried to adjust her mood, and returned to her cold appearance. Yi Qingxue walked through the familiar garden, along the long corridor, and went straight to the living room. In the living room, Yi Qian was sitting opposite a beautiful woman in a sexy red dress. They were holding wine glasses in their hands and seemed to be enjoying a pleasant time. Yi Qingxue glanced at them indifferently and chose to ignore the two of them without any expression. However, just as she stepped onto the stairs, Yi Qian's low voice suddenly came from behind her. Did you go to see your sister today? Yi Qingxue paused slightly, turned around, and stared at Yi Qian straight, with a barely perceptible expectation flashing in her eyes. Yi Qian looked at his little daughter with complicated feelings, his eyes revealing deep helplessness and reluctance. After a moment of silence, he slowly asked, Have you really decided to move in with your sister? Yi Qingxue did not answer, but her firm and affirmative eyes said it all. The father and daughter just stared at each other, and time seemed to stand still. The atmosphere between them was tense and solemn, as if they had countless words they wanted to say but were unable to. As time passed, a heavy atmosphere filled the whole room. Finally, Yi Qian sighed softly, breaking the suffocating silence. His voice was filled with helplessness. Since you want to move in with your sister, then move over. After saying that, Yi Chen picked up the wine glass and drank again. His movements seemed a little weak, as if he had endless worries in his heart. Yi Qingxue stood there, quietly looking at Yi Chen's back, with a trace of guilt and helplessness in her eyes. She bit her lips tightly and wanted to say something, but found that her throat seemed to be blocked and she couldn't make any sound. She clenched her fists, gritted her teeth, then turned and walked upstairs. Every step seemed particularly heavy, as if carrying a heavy burden. It was not until Yi Qingxue went upstairs that the beautiful woman beside him said with a worried look on her face, "Qingxue just came back, and you and your daughter have only been reunited for a short time. Are you really willing to let Qingxue move out?" Yi Chen was silent for a moment, slowly put down the wine glass in his hand, and sighed deeply. His gaze still lingered in the distance, his tone filled with helplessness. "I can't bear to let her go, but there's nothing I can do. You saw it, she didn't even come back at noon today. If she continues like this, she'll stay out overnight sooner or later. Instead of this, it's better to give her to Rushuan. They have a good relationship since they were young. She might be happier if she stays with Rushuan. Brother Qian, I'm sorry, it's all because of me. If it weren't for me, Qingxue wouldn't have." The beautiful woman suddenly blamed herself. Before she finished her words, Yi Chen interrupted the beautiful woman. "Fanga, this isn't your fault. If you have to dwell on whose fault it is, it's only my fault. I am such a failure as a father. I have 2 daughters, but both of them want to leave me. There shouldn't be a more failed father in the world than me." Looking at Yi Chen, who had a painful face, a look of determination flashed in the beautiful woman's eyes. On the other side, Yi Qingxue returned to the room and started her daily bathing routine. If we were to ask what Yi Qingxue's hobbies are, taking a bath would definitely be in the top 3. She would soak in the bath for an hour each time, and would not leave until she felt sleepy. But since that incident, she has begun to refuse to take a bath. Because as long as she took a bath, she could see the traces left by Lin Bai on her body. No matter how she washed it, it wouldn't come off. Of course, in addition to physical traces, the most important are psychological traces. Originally, Yi Qingxue didn't care, but Lin Bai's attitude afterwards was really weird, which invisibly magnified the previous show scene. Women always like to imagine. "You bastard Lin Bai, you must be playing some tricks on me. I will never be fooled." At the same time, in the boys' dormitory of Yi University. Although several hours have passed, the dormitory is still filled with a faint fragrance. Xiao Ran looked at Lin Bai and Zhu Qian somewhat awkwardly. "Why don't you 2 go next door and deal with it for the night? This is not a good idea. If we leave, who will take care of you, Brother Ran? I just promised my sister-in-law that I would take good care of you." Lin Bai said seriously. "That's right. We are brothers. It's just a little smell. It can't poison us to death." Zhu Qian quickly agreed. Looking at the 2 brothers in front of him who were so loyal and affectionate, it was impossible for Xiao Ran not to be moved, but the more they were like this, the more he didn't want to hurt them. "Just listen to me and go to the next room to deal with it for the night." After some tug of war, Lin Bai and Zhu Qian finally compromised. Looking at the dormitory in front of him that was filled with his own scent, and the unread messages from Yi Qingxue on his phone, Xiao Ran let out a long sigh. "What a fucking day. Fuck. Is this the Tank 3000? Oh my god, I didn't expect that I, Zhu Qian, would be able to see a living creature in my lifetime." Looking at the huge creature in front of him, Zhu Qian's saliva was about to flow out. After being driven out by Xiao Ran, Lin Bai tricked Zhu Qian out. He is now a billionaire with a net worth of hundreds of millions, so how could he share a bed with others? It's a rare opportunity, so I must take it to have a good night last Sunday. It's almost done, get in the car quickly. Lin Bai urged. "I am here." Half an hour later, Lin Bai brought Zhu Qian to the only 8-star hotel in Yicheng Yulan Hotel. Old Lin, you are not going to take me to stay here for one night, are you?" Zhu Qian said with a slight trembling. "What do you think?" Lin Bai said with a smile. This is not good. I heard that it costs several thousand a night here. It's not even enough for my monthly living expenses, right? I didn't ask you to pay, get out of the car." After a while, the 2 arrived at the reception hall that looked like a palace. Zhu Qian, who had never seen the world, took the flax with him directly. Lin Bai, on the other hand, looked calm. In his previous life, he almost regarded this place as his home. It couldn't be more familiar to him. After paying the money and getting the room card, Lin Bai brought Zhu Qian, who was shocked, to the reserved presidential suite. As soon as he entered the room, Zhu Qian screamed. "Ah!" Then he suddenly grabbed Lin Bai and said, "Old Lin, I am not dreaming, I am really staying in the presidential suite of Yulan Hotel. If you want to dream, I don't mind punching you right now. Then forget it." "R. My big bed, my bathtub, my delicious food, here I come." Chapter 22 Kind Zhu Qian. Old Lin, did you ransack the kitchen?" Zhu Qian, who had just finished taking a bath, looked at the dazzling array of delicious food in front of him in disbelief. King crab, lobster, abalone, sea cucumber, shark fin, and many other things he had never seen before. But every dish exudes an enticing aroma, and you'll drool just by looking at it. "What do you mean by looting?" "I just asked the hotel staff to deliver it. Come and eat it quickly. If it's not enough, we can order more." After saying that, Lin Bai started eating. After hesitating for a few seconds, Zhu Qian immediately started showing off. As they ate the sumptuous meal and drank the expensive wine, both of them had happy expressions on their faces. After an unknown amount of time, most of the food in front of the two men had been eaten, and the ground was filled with empty wine bottles. Zhu Qian was seen raising his glass shakily. "Lao Lin, I toast you a glass. Thank you for taking me to enjoy this night. This is definitely the softest bed I have ever slept on, the most comfortable bath I have ever taken, the most delicious meal I have ever eaten, and the best wine I have ever drunk." Looking at Zhu Qian, who was drunk but still thanking him from the bottom of his heart, Lin Bai's eyes gradually became dazed. As far as he can remember, there were only a few scenes of him and Zhu Qian drinking happily like this. In their previous lives, the two were either busy or busy. Especially in the early stages of his business, although he had Jing Wei's support, it was still extremely difficult for Xiao Ran to start his career. They were extremely poor during that period and could not even think of enjoying themselves. They often sat on the rooftop together, drinking cheap beer and singing fairly nice songs. After a night passed, they started a new busy life. After much difficulty, they finally made it through and turned their lives around, but Zhu Qian was diagnosed with cancer and remained forever stuck at the age of 30. He was a widower and lonely in his previous life, but at least he had enjoyed himself. However, Zhu Qian gave everything, but in the end it was all in vain. In some ways, Zhu Qian is even worse off than him. Revenge is the purpose of his rebirth, but there are some regrets that he wants to make up for in this life. After putting the unconscious Zhu Qian on the bed, Lin Bai left the room. After a while, he arrived at the door of another suite. I knocked on the door, and soon, a stunning woman in pajamas opened the door. "Have you finished drinking? I thought you two grown men were going to sleep in each other's arms." Hong Wei looked at Lin Bai with some jealousy. "It's fine if you're jealous of women, but why are you jealous of men too? Stop talking nonsense. You were the one who started the fire. You can't escape until I put it out today." The next morning, as the alarm clock rang, Lin Bai, who was lying on the bed, opened his eyes. He glanced at Hong Wei in his arms, and a hint of shock flashed in his eyes. Who could have thought that Hong Da, the most beautiful girl in the class, would be so open? After working all night, Master Lin's waist was almost broken. Looking at the culprit again, his face was rosy and he was sleeping soundly. After putting on his clothes and washing up, Lin Bai returned to Zhu Qian's room. In the bedroom, Zhu Qian was lying on the bed without any sign of sleep, still talking incoherently in his sleep. "My dear, come to the bowl." Lin Bai shook his head helplessly and returned to the living room. He first called room service and ordered a lot of breakfast. Of course, he is not a selfish man. In addition to ordering for him and Zhu Qian, he also ordered one for Hong Wei who was sleeping. After doing everything, he walked into the bedroom and kicked Zhu Qian, who was dreaming, to wake him up. A few minutes later, Zhu Qiansai came into the living room with a resentful look on his face. Seeing the feast in front of him, he immediately performed a face-changing trick for Lin Bai. "Lao Lin, you're so wasteful, ordering so much, but I like it." After saying that, Zhu Qian started eating. "I don't know if it was because I drank too much yesterday, but after eating for a while, Zhu Qian stopped." "Why don't you eat anymore?" Lin Bai asked. "Lao Lin, can I take away the food here?" Zhu Qian asked carefully. What do you want to do? We can't finish all this. Ran Ji just suffered, he needs this more than we do. Don't worry about eating. I have someone prepare Ran's portion and it will be delivered soon. Lin Bai had long guessed that Zhu Qian would be like this. After all, he was well known for his kindness. Hey, then I won't be polite. After breakfast, Lin Bai drove Zhu Qian away from Yulan Hotel. When leaving, Zhu Qian was so reluctant to leave. Soon, the two returned to the school gate. Aren't you going back? Zhu Qian asked Lin Bai, who was obviously not going to get off the car. I have something else to do, so I won't go back. Lao Lin, I know you are rich now, but studies are still very important. You skipped a class yesterday, and you can't go on like this. Zhu Qian said earnestly. When did I fall? Today is the weekend and I don't have classes. Lin Bai said unhappily. It's the weekend. Huh? Sorry to bother you, Lao Lin. Take care. It was not until Lin Bai's tank 3000 disappeared in front of him that Zhu Qian walked into the school gate carrying the huge bag in his hand. How much stuff did Lao Lin pack? Why is it so heavy? More than 20 minutes later, Zhu Qiansai returned to the dormitory carrying the heavy bag. In the dormitory, Xiao Ran was staring at the door in a daze. Because his lower body was in so much pain, he hardly slept that night. When he saw Zhu Qian coming back with a huge bag, he was also surprised. Lao Zhu, what are you holding? Hey, this is good stuff. Nice one. These are all what Lao Lin asked you to bring back. He looked at the sumptuous meal in front of him with an expression of disbelief. Yes, these were bought by Lao Lin, specially for you, Brother Ran, to replenish your body. Xiao Ran's eyes flickered slightly. Where's Lao Lin? Why didn't he come back? He had something else to do. After sending me back, he left. Brother Ran, eat it while it's hot. These are all made by the chef of an 8-star hotel. They are absolutely delicious. 8-star hotel. Xiao Ran's eyes lit up. Just then, a familiar voice came. What 8-star hotel? When the two looked up, they saw a handsome man appearing at the door with his hands in his pockets. Wei Ji, you're back. I just brought back a big meal from Yulan Hotel. Come and have it. Zhu Qian quickly stood up and said. Oh, it's true, Lao Zhu, you made a fortune. You even dare to go to Yulan to spend money. Zheng Wei couldn't help but teased. Zhu Qian scratched his head and said, no, these were all bought by Lao Lin. I just wanted to eat them for free. Of course Zheng Wei knew that this was bought by Lin Bai. After patting Zhu Qian, he looked at Xiao Ran with concern. Old Xiao, are you okay? I heard about what happened yesterday. Fortunately, I won T-Die. Chapter 23 Zheng Wei's fiancé. By the way, Wei Ji, today is the weekend, why are you back? Don't you never stay in school on weekends? Zhu Qian said while gnawing on a big chicken leg. Originally, it was a feast brought for Xiao Ran, but because Zheng Wei suddenly came back, the two of them started eating openly. But seeing the two of them eating so happily, Zhu Qian, who had already eaten his fill in the hotel, actually started to swallow his saliva. Finally, under the temptation of the two, he finally joined the battle. It's hard to put it into words. Zheng Wei sighed and shook his head with a sad look on his face. What's wrong? Xiao Ran was slightly startled, then put down the chopsticks in his hand and looked at Zheng Wei with concern. It's all because of my fiancé. Zheng Wei said helplessly. The young lady from the Xia family. What happened to her? Zhu Qian and Xiao Ran immediately became interested and asked quickly. Zheng Wei was already accustomed to their reactions. After all, he didn't know how many times he had complained about others. I don't know what tricks she used to win the favor of my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother is old and her mind is a little unclear, but she actually agreed to let her live in the Jing family. Zheng Wei complained loudly. Well, isn't this a matter of time? You're going to get married anyway, so just adapt to it in advance. Xiao Ran comforted. Xiao Ran and Zhu Qian both knew very well that Zheng Wei did not like the marriage arranged for him by his family at all, otherwise they would not have heard Zheng Wei complaining about his fiancée every now and then. The two of them were just envious. After all, they have seen Zheng Wei's fiancée, and her appearance is definitely not inferior to Yi Qingxue. More importantly, she is a real fairy. Even Xiao Ran couldn't help but be moved when he met her for the first time. Such a stunning beauty couldn't win the favor of Jing Wei. It's really weird. Adaptation is bullshit. As soon as she moved into the Jing family, she acted like a young lady and changed the rooms in the house at will. I can tolerate other places since I don't spend much time at home anyway. Zheng Wei said loudly, his tone full of anger. But she actually modified my collection room. Not only that, she also sold all my rock climbing equipment, paragliders, diving equipment, and even my modified motorcycle at a low price. Zheng Wei became more and more excited as he spoke, with a slight tremor in his voice. As brothers, they naturally knew how important those things were to Zheng Wei. These are not just objects, but symbols of Zheng Wei's hobbies and dreams. So you want to break up your engagement with her? Xiao Ran asked tentatively. It would be great if we could cancel the engagement. Zheng Wei smiled bitterly and shook his head, his face full of bitterness. Then what are you going to do? Xiao Ran frowned and looked at Zheng Wei worriedly. Although rich young men and women are born with a silver spoon in their mouths and enjoy far more favorable treatment than ordinary people, these treatments come at a price. The price is their marriage. Ordinary people can still choose to stay with the one they love for the rest of their lives, but as children from wealthy families, they have almost no choice of their own. Most of their partners are from other families, because the aristocratic and powerful families pay attention to matching each other, so ordinary people are not even in their eyes. Although they both knew that the other might not like them, they had to sacrifice themselves due to the family's pressure. This is what is called family marriage. In this era of rapid development, family marriage is undoubtedly a perfect mutually beneficial and win-win model. It not only deepens the ties between the two families, but also drives the economic development of the two families. And the price of all this is only the happiness of the two marriage partners. If the two people like each other, it would be a perfect marriage, but the probability of this happening is undoubtedly too small. So, Xiao Ran envied Jing Wei, but at the same time he sympathized with him. What else can I do? I won't have peace as long as she stays in the Jing family. So I decided not to go back. Zheng Wei said firmly. Not going back? Are you planning to hide away forever? Your wedding is only half a year away, right? Yes, it's only half a year. Mr. Zheng, in my opinion, you should ask her out and have a good talk. After all, this is a big deal, marriage. Xiao Ran said earnestly. You think I haven't tried? She's a complete hooligan and won't listen to anyone. Forehead. Let's not talk about this anymore. I get upset when she's mentioned. By the way, where's Lao Lin? Why isn't he in the dormitory? At the same time, in the largest shopping supermarket in Yichun, Lin Bai was taking Hong Wei to buy some daily necessities. Although the house was bought, there was nothing useful in it. Since it was a home for two people, they still needed necessary daily necessities. The two of them were like a newlywed couple, pushing a cart and strolling leisurely in the supermarket. Whenever they came across something interesting, they would always stop and watch for a while. After a while, the cart was filled with all kinds of goods. What are you doing here? Hong Wei looked at the three big words hanging above her head with a puzzled look on her face. Kitchenware area. Of course, I'm going to buy kitchen utensils. As he said that, Lin Bai picked up a very unique porcelain bowl. It's useless to buy these. Do you know how to cook? Is there a possibility that I can actually cook? Impossible, I don't believe it. Hong Wei rejected Lin Bai's possibility without even thinking about it. That's nothing we can do. Lin Bai shrugged, put the bowl in his hand into the cart, and continued to push it. Can you really cook? Hong Wei frowned as she looked at the increasing number of kitchen utensils in the cart. Do you think I'm playing house? Lin Bai said with a smile. TSK, it's just cooking, what's so great about that? Although Hong Wei said with contempt, she had already started to think about it in her mind. After walking around the kitchenware area for another 10 minutes, the two pushed the cart away. Just as he was about to walk out of the kitchen area, a familiar figure appeared in front of Lin Bai. It's her? Without hesitation, Lin Bai pushed the cart and chased after him. What is this guy doing again? Hong Wei stomped her feet and followed him. In front of the shelf, a stunning woman with a devilish figure and wearing a sexy red dress is comparing two porcelain bowls of the same size but completely opposite styles in her hands. Just when the woman was struggling to decide which one to choose, a strange but familiar voice came from behind her. I think Viagra should prefer the one on the right. The woman turned around suddenly, and the person who appeared in front of her was Lin Bai, who had just left here not long ago, and Hong Yue, who followed closely behind. Who are you? The stunning woman looked at Lin Bai curiously. Sister-in-law, I am. Chapter 24 Xie Yue. So sister-in-law, do you want to ease the relationship between you and Wei Ge? Lin Bai sat in the coffee shop, staring straight at Xie Yue sitting opposite him. She was so beautiful that she looked like a fairy, making it impossible to take your eyes off her. Her eyebrows were like crescent moons, and her long eyelashes fluttered gently, as light as butterfly wings. Her fair and flawless skin exuded a faint pink glow, like morning dewdrops shining under the light. Her lips are thin and as tender as rose petals. When they are slightly raised, they look like blooming flowers, delicate and charming. And those peach blossom eyes are full of charm, which can easily make people fall in love with them. Her soft long hair fell on her shoulders like a waterfall, gently brushing against her fair skin, and every strand of hair sparkled with golden light. A sexy red long skirt wrapped around her curvy figure, showing off her curves perfectly. The hem of the skirt fluttered in the wind, adding a different kind of charm. The wedding will be here in half a year. We can't keep going like this. Xie Yue sighed softly, with a hint of helplessness and bitterness in her eyes. Looking at the lonely Xie Yue in front of him, Lin Bai couldn't help but feel a surge of pity in his heart, and his eyes gradually became complicated. Others may not know what Xie Yue is really thinking, but as a reborn person, Lin Bai knows everything. Zheng Wei really had no love for Xie Yue, but in fact, Xie Yue also had no feelings for Zheng Wei. The reason why she went to great lengths to move into the Jing family and please the people in the Jing family was just to maintain her political marriage with Zheng Wei. The Jing family and the Xie family are both first-class families in Yichen, and they are the best among the first-class families. The marriage between two such powerful families is of absolutely extraordinary significance. Therefore, neither the Xie family nor the Jing family wanted anything to go wrong in this marriage. Especially the Xie family. If Lin Bai remembered correctly, the current Xie group has already encountered problems in its operations. If it cannot obtain new funds in time, the Xie group may face the risk of collapse. The reason why no news has been revealed yet is entirely because Xie Yue's father, Xiao, chairman of Xie Group, forcibly blocked the news. For the Xie family, this marriage is an opportunity for the Xie family to turn the tables. Once they marry with the Jing family, relying on the momentum of the marriage between the two families, a large number of partners will soon come to them, and funds will continue to pour in. The difficulties of the Xie Group will naturally be solved. But the truth will eventually come to light. In the previous life, on the eve of Xie Yue and Jing Wei's wedding, the real financial statements of Xie Group were suddenly exposed, and Xie Group was instantly pushed to the forefront. Not surprisingly, their engagement was cancelled. As the saying goes, when a wall falls, everyone pushes it down. There are no permanent friends in the business world. After all, there are only a few people in certain positions, and everyone wants to climb up. The Xie family at that time was undoubtedly the most difficult period. Not only did they have to face the condemnation of the Jing family, but they also had to deal with the open and covert attacks of some villains. The usually upright Xiao fell ill, and with no one else available, Xie Yue had to step in personally to resolve the situation. But the power of one person is limited after all. Unless someone helps, there is nothing that can be done to save the situation. At that time, the only family that could possibly save the Xie family was the Jing family. However, Xie Yue had already become disillusioned with the Jing family at that time, because the Jing family was also among those who wanted to encroach on the Xie family. God always seems to like playing jokes. Xie Yue and Jing Wei, who were originally just tools for marriage, actually gradually fell in love with each other after breaking off their engagement. In the end, Jing Wei even publicly announced his withdrawal from the Jing family for Xie Yue, and then ran the fragmented Xie group together with Xie Yue. After several twists and turns, the Xie group was reborn, and Xie Yue and Jing Wei also got married. This was a love story that everyone envied in the previous life. If that's the case, I can help my sister-in-law. Lin Bai suddenly said. Xie Yue's beautiful eyes flickered slightly, and she looked at Lin Bai with some surprise. Help me. Aren't you afraid that Jing Wei will know? He must have complained about me to you many times, right? Of course I'm afraid, but I think Wei Ji will definitely thank me afterwards. After all, not everyone can marry a woman as perfect as my sister-in-law. Lin Bai looked at Xie Yue with a smile. Xie Yue frowned slightly. She always felt that there was something else behind Lin Bai's words, but she couldn't put it into words. After the two looked at each other for a while, Xie Yue finally said, I wonder if you have any good ideas. Lin Bai raised the corner of his mouth slightly. I wonder if my sister-in-law has ever heard a saying. What? If you want to capture a man's heart, you must first capture his stomach. The two chatted in the cafe for about half an hour before Xie Yue said goodbye to Lin Bai and left. The woman just now was Jin Wei's fiancée, Xie Yue. Hong Wei couldn't help asking as soon as Xie Yue left. With many suitors, she naturally knew Jin Wei's background. She even thought about taking action against Jin Wei, but after checking the information of the Jing family, she gave up. Because Jin Wei's father, Jing Jian, is a true hero of his generation, who is decisive and ruthless in his actions, and she dare not be his daughter-in-law. Yes, she is Xie Yue. It's really her, she is so beautiful. Hong Wei's eyes sparkled with excitement. Lin Bai could probably guess why Hong Wei was so excited. In addition to being the daughter of the Xie family, Xie Yue also has another identity, that is, a member of T-Girl, the most famous girl group in Longhua. Speaking of T-Girl, it is a household name in Dragon Country. 5 years ago, T-Girl emerged out of nowhere and gained hundreds of millions of fans in just 3 months with its youthful and beautiful looks, almost perfect voice and gorgeous dance. Regardless of gender, age or status, everyone's favorite songs at that time were those of T-Girl. Even Lin Bai pursued them for a while. That was also the time when Xie Yue was most famous, but as her popularity increased, her background was also exposed. The rich girl became an idol and instantly dominated the hot searches. The Xie family, where Xie Yue belongs, was also bombarded by fans, and the stock of Xie Group increased several times in just a few months. Xie Yue has made an indispensable contribution to the current success of Xie Group. However, just when everyone thought that Xie Yue would stay in T-Girl forever, she retired from the group in the second year after T-Girl was founded. Her withdrawal from the group also broke the hearts of countless otakus. Although she has disappeared from the public eye, she still has a lot of fans, and Hong Wei in front of us is one of them. In fact, the reason why she wanted to do that was because of Xie Yue and T-Girl. TSK, it's rare that someone is not jealous. Lin Bai couldn't help but teased. Why are you jealous? That's Xie Yue. Do you think you can take her down? Who knows? Chapter 25 Yi Qingshue's Invitation. Inside the Yi family mansion, Yi Qingxue sat in front of the makeup mirror with a smile on her face. Several maids surrounded her and were busy packing her clothes, arranging dolls and other items for her. Today was undoubtedly the earliest day Yi Qingxue had ever woken up, and it was also the most exciting day for her. Because she could finally move out of this house and no longer have to face the disgusting woman. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but smile with relief. Picking up the phone, she couldn't wait to dial Yi Rushuang's number. Soon, Yi Rushuang's cold yet familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Hello, Qingxue, is there anything you want to talk to me about? Hearing her sister's voice, Yi Qingshue's joy grew stronger, and she replied happily, Sister, I'm almost done packing here, when will you come pick me up? However, there was a brief silence on the other end of the phone, followed by Yi Rushuang's apologetic voice. Qingxue, I'm sorry, there's something urgent that needs to be dealt with at the company, so I may not be able to pick you up. How about this, you ask the housekeeper at home to take you there, okay? A look of disappointment instantly appeared on Yi Qingshue's face. I'm really sorry. There's an urgent project that I need to handle personally, and I really can't spare the time. Let's celebrate properly when I'm done with my work tonight, okay? Yi Rushuang gently comforted her sister. Well, then you can't break your promise again, otherwise I won't like you anymore. Yi Qingshuo pouted unhappily. Of course, I promise to be back on time in the evening. That's more like it. By the way, today is the weekend. If you are bored at home, you can call your friends over and have a party or something. It's up to you to have fun however you want. Yi Rushuang said again. Yi Qingshue's eyes lit up. After so many years abroad, her favorite thing was parties. But soon, her eyes dimmed. After all, this was not a foreign country, and what's more, she simply didn't have that many friends. The only boyfriend she could call over was in a difficult situation now, so how could he celebrate with her? For some reason, Lin Bai's figure suddenly appeared in Yi Qingshue's mind. Crazy. Yi Qingxue, you are really hungry. Anyone can think of it. But apart from Lin Bai, she really couldn't think of anyone else. Zhu Qian. A short, fat, and ugly guy. Never mind. His name is Jin Wei. He already has a fiancée, and it would be a big deal if there were any more rumors. At this moment, Yi Qingxue seemed to have thought of something, and her eyes burst into a fiery light. Okay, I understand. Sister, you go ahead and do your work. After hanging up the phone, Yi Qingxue found a WeChat account she had just added not long ago on her phone. After tapping the screen a few times, the message was sent out quickly. At the same time, in the small Western-style building, Lin Bai and Hong Huaye had just moved all the things they bought from the supermarket into the living room. I'm so tired. I didn't feel anything when I bought them, how come there are so many? Hong Huaye lay on the sofa, panting. A home feels like home only when it has a lot of things. Otherwise, the 110 million would be wasted. Lin Bai said with a smile. Har har, why did you spend 110 million to be a sucker? Don't you know what's going on? Hong Huaye said unhappily. Lin Bai scratched his head awkwardly. It was quite a headache to have a girlfriend who was too smart. Most of the things were bought by you, so you can clean them up yourself. I'm tired and I need to rest. Hong Huaye said lazily, and then couldn't wait to take out her mobile phone and start playing. Lin Bai looked at her helplessly, but he did not stop her. Instead, he silently opened the many bags on the ground and began to pack them up carefully. Not long after, Hong Huaye walked up to him with a smirk on her face and said mysteriously, Hey, guess whose message I received? Lin Bai replied without even looking up, I don't know whose message you received, but I know you look really wretched right now. When Hong Huaye heard this, she suddenly became angry and stomped her feet and said, You are the wretched one. If you don't want to know, then forget it. Then I can only go and play with the beautiful Qingxue alone. After saying that, she turned around and prepared to leave. However, as expected, Hong Huaye was stopped by Lin Bai behind her after she had taken a few steps. Wait, who are you talking about? Lin Bai looked at Hong Huaye with confusion. Of course it's the sister-in-law you've been thinking about. Hong Huaye proudly shook the phone in her hand. Why did she look for you? Lin Bai became even more curious. Of course you want to play with me. Hong Huaye answered mysteriously. How about it, do you want to go together? Hong Huaye looked at Lin Bai expectantly. I don't want to. Lin Bai replied expressionlessly. Seeing Lin Bai so calm, Hong Huaye couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Zundu, fake do. What do you think? There are so many things. Who will clean them up when I leave? Lin Bai pointed to a dozen large bags piled on the ground. We're not going now. They invited us in the afternoon. It's still early. I won't go then. Lin Bai shook his head firmly. Are you going or not? Hong Huaye stomped her feet in anger. You can go, but you have to beg me. Lin Bai's mouth corners raised slightly. Huh. Hong Huaye's eyes widened, completely at a loss. She thought she could control Lin Bai and make him beg her to take him with her, but she didn't expect Lin Bai to go against her rules and make her beg him. What was this? Against Tiangang? Hong Huaye took a deep breath, then looked at Lin Bai with a flattering look. I beg you, let's go together. If she were a normal person, Hong Huaye would have gone alone, but Yi Qingxue was the daughter of the Yi family, which meant that she was going to the Yi family in the afternoon. Although she has a strong psychological quality, she is still a little scared, so it is better to call a partner. And the most suitable partner is undoubtedly Lin Bai in front of him. Lin Bai suddenly smiled and said, Since you've asked me to do it, I'll agree to it with reluctance. In just a moment, Hong Huaye realized that she had been tricked. You actually teased me, I'm going to fight you. Nine Yang Bone Claw. How could a woman be a match for Lin Bai, especially since Lin Bai is now a kung fu superstar? He casually pressed Hong Huaye down on the sofa. Let me go. Hong Huaye looked at Lin Bai with shame and annoyance. I can let you go, but I've just done so much work, it won't do for someone to do nothing. Lin Bai gave a wicked smile. What do you want to do again? Hong Wei suddenly became nervous. You guess. You, woo woo. A few hours later, Lin Bai drove Hong Wei to a villa area. Did you give the wrong address? No matter how Hong Wei looked at it, this place didn't look like the Yi family's mansion. However, Lin Bai looked at the familiar villa in front of him and smiled meaningfully. No, you got it right. It's right here. Chapter 26 Yi Qingshue's Invitation. Have you been here? Hong Wei looked at Lin Bai in surprise, her eyes full of confusion and curiosity. Lin Bai nodded, I guess so. Hong Wei was the one who showed the way along the way. Lin Bai originally thought he was going to the Yi family mansion, but as he became more familiar with the road, he gradually realized that something was wrong. When he arrived at his destination, he was surprised to find that it was the place he had guessed. It seemed that Yi Qingxue had moved out of the Yi family in advance, which made Lin Bai secretly happy, because in this way, he might be able to see her earlier. Thinking of the cold and beautiful face in his mind, Lin Bai's heart, which had been restless because of Xie Yue not long ago, began to beat violently again. Hong Wei was confused by what she heard, but Lin Bai obviously didn't want to say anything more, so she could only press the doorbell with a lot of questions in her mind. Not long after, a beautiful girl in a pink floral dress slowly opened the door. Her delicate face is like a blooming flower, exuding charming charm. Hongya, you're here. Yi Qingxue looked at Hongya happily, with excitement flashing in her eyes. She was very happy to see Hongya again. Although they had only met once, she really liked Hong Wei's frank and straightforward character, which might have something to do with her long-term living in a foreign country. Therefore, when she thought of Hongya, she took the initiative to extend the invitation without hesitation. I also brought a friend with me. Hong Wei said softly. Hearing this, Yi Qingxue couldn't help but wonder, friends. As Hong Wei's body moved slightly, Yi Qingxue finally saw Lin Bai standing not far away. In an instant, the smile on her face disappeared without a trace, replaced by a pale and terrified look. This sudden change made Hong Wei more curious, and she wondered in her heart, what did Lin Bai do to Yi Qingxue? Just seeing him made Yi Qingxue so scared. At this time, Lin Bai approached Yi Qingxue with a smile on his face and asked in a relaxed tone, Sister-in-law, you don't mind me coming here to disturb you, right? Yi Qingxue really wanted to make friends with Hong Wei. Even if she didn't welcome Lin Bai, she couldn't drive Lin Bai away in front of Hong Wei. Wow, it smells so good, there are so many flowers. As soon as she entered the door, Hong Wei was shocked by the flowers that filled almost the entire courtyard. This was not a villa at all, it was simply a garden. Compared to Hong Wei, Lin Bai looked calm. After all, it was not the first time he had seen him. The entire villa is not particularly large, covering an area of less than 200 square meters, which is smaller than the small Western-style building purchased by Lin Bai. But there is more life here than in the small Western-style building. After visiting the garden for a while, the two followed Yi Qingxue into the villa. Looking at the villa in front of her, which was not luxuriously decorated, Hong Wei couldn't help but sigh. I didn't expect Qingxue to be a rich lady. Yi Qingxue secretly glanced at Lin Bai, then slowly explained, my father is a businessman and made a little money. Please sit down first, I'll make you some coffee. After saying that, Yi Qingxue took the cup and walked to the coffee machine beside her. Maybe it was because she was nervous, but for a moment she didn't know how to use the coffee machine. Just as Yi Qingxue was about to be embarrassed, the enthusiastic person Lin Bai appeared at this time. Let me do it. His voice was extremely gentle, like the autumn breeze, soothing the soul. Yi Qingxue was stunned for a moment, then obediently stepped aside. After confirming that Hong Wei did not come, she questioned Lin Bai, why are you here? Of course Hongya invited me here. Lin Bai replied while watching the machine extracting coffee. Why would she invite you? What is your relationship? Yi Qingxue frowned. What? Sister-in-law, are you concerned about my private life? Lin Bai said with a wicked smile. Yi Qingxue's pretty face turned red. Who cares about you? I just don't want to see Hong Wei being toyed with by a beast like you. I, Lin Bai, will not play with anyone's feelings. Lin Bai said in a deep voice. Seeing Lin Bai's sudden serious expression, Yi Qingxue also became nervous. However, before she could speak, Lin Bai left with the coffee. Yi Qingxue's mind kept echoing with Lin Bai's words. What does he mean? Is he serious about me? So what is his relationship with Hongya? I don't know how long I stood there in a daze before Yi Qingxue returned to the sofa with the only remaining cup of coffee. Looking at Lin Baijing and Hong Huaye chatting and laughing, her eyes became more complicated. At the same time, in the dormitory. With Zheng Wei's return, the dormitory undoubtedly became lively again. Knowing that Xiao Ran was not convenient to move, Zhu Qian and Zheng Wei accompanied him to play King of Glory. At the beginning, the three of them were having a lot of fun, but as time went on, Xiao Ran became a little absent-minded. Logically speaking, today is the weekend, and Yi Qingxue should have sent me a message, but it is already afternoon and there is still no message from Yi Qingxue. Just as he was thinking about whether to call Yi Qingxue, Zhu Qian's roar instantly woke him up. Brother Ran, come quickly, Wei Ji and I are going to have sex. The battle situation suddenly became tense, and Xiao Ran rushed to provide support. Forget it, let us call her in the evening. Maybe she has something to do today. You moved here from home today. Hong Huaye's beautiful eyes flickered. Yi Qingxue nodded, well, I don't like living at home, so I moved in with my sister. So this is your sister's house. Hong Huaye suddenly realized. So today is your housewarming party, Qingxue. Hong Huaye said with a smile. My sister is busy with work and can't get away, Xiao Ran is still injured, and I don't have any friends, so I invited you over. Yi Qingxue said a little dejectedly. Hong Huaye generously embraced Yi Qingxue, then you have a friend now. From now on, I, Hong Huaye, will be your good friend. Well, thank you. Women's friendship always develops quickly. After Yi Qingxue confessed part of the truth, the two women quickly became familiar with each other. If you don't know, you would think they are best friends. Looking at the two women chatting and laughing, Lin Bai's mouth corners curled up unconsciously. I don't know how long it was before a sudden doorbell rang, interrupting this joyous occasion. Is anyone else coming? Hong Huaye looked at Yi Qingxue curiously. No, it should be the food I ordered that has arrived. A few minutes later, a variety of takeout food was placed in front of Lin Bai and Hong Huaye. Fried chicken, hamburgers, barbecue, steak, cola, beer and more. Didn't you order too much? Hong Huaye exclaimed as she looked at the huge table of takeout. It seems a bit too much. It's okay. Just eat as much as you can. It's okay if you can't finish it. Chapter 27 Cooking Skills. You're rummaging through someone else's refrigerator in front of them. Don't you think of yourself as an outsider? Hong Huaye looked at Lin Bai, who was looking for something in the refrigerator speechlessly, muttering to herself that this man was really shameless. However, Lin Bai didn't care. He turned around and smiled, with a sly light in his eyes. I don't think sister-in-law will mind, right, sister-in-law? As he spoke, he deliberately emphasized the word sister-in-law, as if to remind Yi Qingxue. Yi Qingxue's face was full of black lines, and she secretly cursed Lin Bai, the bastard, in her heart for daring to threaten her in front of Hong Huaye. But she was helpless because she couldn't do anything about Lin Bai. Helplessly, she had to bite the bullet and said, it's okay, my sister said we can do whatever makes us happy, she won't mind. Hearing this, Hong Huaye couldn't help but widen her eyes, and she quickly accepted it all. After all, it is possible that Lin Bai has done even more outrageous things, let alone tinkering with the refrigerator. Since Yi Qingxue, the master, has spoken, Hong Huaye naturally cannot say anything more. After a while, Lin Bai found some relatively fresh eggplants, tomatoes, cucumbers, a few pieces of frozen steak, and some eggs in the refrigerator. He put the ingredients into the sink and started washing them. You're not really planning to cook, are you? Hong Huaye couldn't help but ask. Lin Bai chuckled and replied, do you think I'm playing house? A few minutes ago, the takeaway meal that Yi Qingxue prepared to treat the two of them arrived. The rich and varied takeout also shocked Hong Huaye, who usually only ordered 1 or 2 takeouts. Just when Hong Huaye was about to accept Yi Qingxue's kindness and enjoy it, Lin Bai stopped her. Then Lin Bai made a wise remark, in the presence of the chef, eating takeout is simply an insult to me. Hong Huaye. After cleaning the ingredients, Lin Bai washed a few plates, then took out the knife and started cutting vegetables. Seeing Lin Bai's skillful vegetable cutting movements, both Hong Huaye and Yi Qingxue were extremely surprised. Especially Hong Huaye, she was still questioning Lin Bai's cooking ability this morning. Now looking at the situation, is she going to be slapped in the face? After a while, the ingredients that had just been cleaned were cut by Lin Bai and placed in different plates. Wow, you really know how to cook! Hong Yue exclaimed in surprise as she looked at the evenly sized and neatly arranged ingredients on the plate. Lin Bai did not reply, but quietly stirred the eggs in the bowl. At this moment, Yi Qingxue was so shocked that she could no longer describe it. She has been abroad for many years, and apart from studying, the thing she does most is to check out the delicious food in various places. It is no exaggeration to say that she has met more than 90% of the famous chefs abroad. Although Lin Bai's vegetable cutting skills are not as good as those of world-class chefs, they are definitely top-notch. You have to know that most of those chefs have decades of cooking experience, and Lin Bai is only in his early 20s. Most importantly, he is not a chef yet, just a college student who has not graduated yet. How could this not shock Yi Qingxue? Lin Bai, how can those little karaoke chefs from abroad compare with the chefs from my dragon country? Cutting vegetables was just something I used to practice when I was bored in my previous life. Later, I will let you see what a real chef god is. After the eggs are prepared and the steak is thawed, it's time to start cooking. Heat oil in a pan and add garlic. In less than a few minutes, a plate of fragrant scrambled eggs with tomatoes appeared in front of the two women. Hong Yue, who had been unable to hold back any longer, was about to take action, but before she could reach out her hand, Lin Bai opened it with a chopstick. Why did you hit me? Hong Yue glared at Lin Bai angrily. Even if you are the most beautiful girl in class, you can't eat food with your hands. Cut. Why don't you try it first, Qingxue? Hong Yue suddenly looked at Yi Qingxue, who was also eager to try, with a playful smile on her lips. Yi Qingxue glanced at Lin Bai, who had already looked over, and quickly waved her hands, trying to hide her desire. No, it's still you. However, before she could finish her words, a pair of chopsticks picked up a piece of golden and tempting scrambled eggs with tomatoes and quickly stuffed it into her mouth. The sudden feeding caught Yi Qingxue off guard, and she could only accept this sweet gift helplessly. The next moment, Yi Qingxue's eyes widened, as if she had discovered a whole new world. Her taste buds were instantly activated, and the sweet and sour taste danced on the tip of her tongue, bringing her an unprecedented wonderful experience. How is it? Is it delicious? Hong Yue looked at Yi Qingxue with anticipation, her eyes flashing with excitement. Delicious. Yi Qingxue nodded without hesitation. Although Yi Qingxue didn't want Lin Bai to see her like this, she had to admit that this was indeed the most delicious scrambled eggs with tomatoes she had ever tasted. Hearing this answer, Hong Yue no longer hesitated and directly picked up a large piece of scrambled eggs with tomatoes with chopsticks and put it into her mouth. Not long after, an expression of enjoyment exactly the same as Yi Qingxue's appeared on her face. It's delicious. Don't you think I'm bragging now? Lin Bai looked at the two women with a smile. Yi Qingxue lowered her head in embarrassment. She didn't have the courage to look Lin Bai in the eye. Seeing Lin Bai's skilled knife skills, she had a feeling that cooking this dish would definitely not be easy, but she still underestimated Lin Bai. But what really made her so embarrassed was the relationship between the two of them. Perhaps sensing Yi Qingxue's embarrassment, Hong Yue immediately stood up. It's just fried eggs with tomatoes, everyone can do it. If you have the ability, try making a few more dishes. After saying that, Hong Yue pulled Yi Qingxue away, and the plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes also disappeared. It is said that to capture a man's heart, you must first capture his stomach. It seems that this saying is changing today. With Chef Lin's careful preparation, 3 more dishes were soon freshly prepared. Braised eggplant, hand-smashed cucumber, and the simplest fried steak. In fact, Chef Lin wanted to make more, but the ingredients were limited. As soon as the dishes were served, Hong Yue couldn't wait to sit over, and the plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes had already been completely finished by the two of them. Yi Qingxue was a little embarrassed at first, but Hong Yue was so enthusiastic that she had no choice but to go up with a thick face. Picking up the chopsticks, Hong Yue couldn't wait to taste it. Millimeter, it's delicious. Qingxue, try it. Yi Qingxue glanced at Lin Bai weakly before picking up the chopsticks. After a while, Yi Qingxue's face was filled with satisfaction again. I didn't expect you to be so good at cooking. Since you worked so hard to cook, I'll reward you by letting you have dinner with us two fairies. There was a sly flash in Hong Yue's eyes. Lin Bai's face was full of black lines. He said, let you swell up for a while, and I'll deal with you when I get back. With delicious food, good wine is naturally indispensable. After a while, the three of them raised their glasses to celebrate. Let's raise a toast together and celebrate Qingshue's escape from the sea of suffering. Cheers!